Yeah, well, things shouldn't change. The intensity is going to ramp up, but, the standards that we have here should carry over to Houston.
I agree. Everyone's in line, from the GM to the head coach, offensive coordinator. Everyone knows this is going to be a
sack off the back end. Big play as the Raiders attack on defense here. Sloan comes off the edge. Sloan with a beautiful sack here. Big play for the Raiders defense. We've been looking forward to calling that all night.
It's Unnecessary Roughness. Presented by Meineke, doing car care right. Here's your boy Q.
That's a guy that a lot of people are talking about. That would be Keon Sloan, undrafted free agent. It's a name to pay attention to. It's a name to watch. It's a name to listen for, because a lot of people are talking about Sloan and what he could do for this Raiders defense and where he can end up when it's all said and done. Obviously, training camp's going on right now. One preseason game is in the books with another one on the way coming up on Thursday, which finds me where I'm at right now, which is in Houston, Texas, for the Texans game coming up on Thursday, but more importantly, the joint practice that comes up tomorrow morning. It's Unnecessary Roughness here on RaiderNation Radio 920. You also heard from head coach Clint Kubiak talking about that joint practice real briefly. The standard remains a standard, but there will be a lot of work done coming up tomorrow morning. Very much so looking forward to what it's going to look like, what we're going to learn, what we're going to see with a defense that is, in my opinion, Super Bowl worthy, and the Houston Texans going up against the Raiders offense. We'll start to see how these wide receivers look. We'll start to see what this offensive line looks like. We'll start to learn a little bit more about the quarterback play and how they go about their business, all based off this practice coming up. And something that coaches enjoy more than they even enjoy the preseason games are the joint practices. So we'll see that coming up tomorrow. Then they'll have a day off on Wednesday, and then boom, it'll be NRG Stadium, which is basically about a hop, skip, and a jump from where I'm at right now. I literally could walk outside on the balcony and see the stadium. It says it's a 5-minute walk, but in this heat, it ain't no 5-minute walk, because I'll get about 2.5 minutes to the stadium and be ready to go ahead and lay it on down, man. You know what? Tap out. Man down. This guy is not going to get it done, but it's really cool to be this close to the stadium and be back in the great state of Texas as well, where I spent a good 10 or 11 years of my life. So being here in H-Town is pretty cool, and of course I'll catch up with the great John McClain tomorrow morning for the practice, and I think I'll even do a little hit on his radio station that he's a guest on all the time there as well, and then of course observe the practice and bring you everything that's going on behind the scenes, Texans and Raiders joint practice coming up tomorrow morning. So we obviously got to get through today before we worry about tomorrow, and that's exactly what we're going to do. Got a big show lined up for you, as we always do, coming off a weekend where hopefully you had a really good time. The Raiders were in practice. Matter of fact, they practiced Saturday, but we weren't out there and available to observe it. We were out there and available on Sunday, so we saw that. They were back at practice today at the Intermountain Health Performance Center. Clearly I was not there since I'm here. Took off for Houston late last night and arrived around midnight Central Time. So missed today's practice, but we will have a full recap of today's practice from Brandy Flores. Matter of fact, at 3 o'clock, she already knocked out a little recap. We'll just hear what Brandy had to say about today's practice. But before we get to Brandy, Kirk Morisson, Tackle for Loss TV, Raiders broadcast, former linebacker for the Silver and Black and the NFL in general, will join us as he always does at 2:30. I believe he's already landed here in Houston. So, want to get his thoughts on what he's looking for, what he'll what he wants to learn about this team, how beneficial it's going to be for this team as they have this joint practice. So we'll talk to Kirk Morisson coming up at 2:30. Again, at 3 o'clock, Brandy Flores, her Day 13 recap. You'll hear that at 3 o'clock. Then Charean Williams from Pro Football Talk. She'll join us at 3:30. We'll scatter shoot all things NFL. Von Miller signing a free agent deal with the Dallas Cowboys. So there you go. That's an addition that, Jerry Jones has been hinting at, that he's been trying to go ahead and add some more defense. Well, he does. A guy that's going to be a Hall of Famer when it's all said and done. Von Miller added to the mix. Obviously, we're all still on Aaron Donald watch, and we'll scatter shoot all things NFL with Charean. Look forward to that. Some of the reaction from some of the preseason games that we saw over the weekend, or even last week, as the Raiders were in action last week as well. So it's always great to catch up with Charean. Speaking of Hall of Famers, she's a Hall of Famer, so always appreciate when she joins the show. She'll do that coming up at 3:30. Also, we'll hear from you throughout the course of the show at 702-365-9200. We'll take you inside the Raiders locker room post-game still from Thursday's game against the Arizona Cardinals. Some of the players that we were able to catch up with, and man, there was a lot of players that were available in the locker room post-game versus the Arizona Cardinals, like Ian Thomas, Jack Besh. We already heard from him. Jalen Naylor, Malik Benson, Mike Washington, Spencer Burford, Tyler Linderbaum. Just plenty of different players made available, so we'll make sure we get that in as well. So we got a busy show for you, as we always do. I can tell you, Ari, I'm pretty disappointed. The summer of fun has come and gone, and I found out today that the winner of the trip to Hawaii was from Sacramento.
That is a bummer. I was hoping you were going to say at least another station from around here in Vegas.
No. I wouldn't even have cared. I just wanted the winner to come from this station, and it did not. So the Summer of Fun has come and gone, and we shout out to Terribles for sponsoring the Summer of Fun and giving so many people an opportunity to win the trip or win the cash. The cash was $3,000, but unfortunately, we never, ever had a winner that came from this show.
Well, off-season
So
starts.
I'm blaming you. I'm putting it on you.
I'm putting it on the listeners right now, and I was about to say off-season starts right now. You start getting your fingers and your mind ready for about a year from now or a little less, right? When we start it all up, I'm assuming we're gonna start it up. I have no.
I'm blaming it on you. I don't blame it on the listeners. I blame it on you. You're the one who gave out the word of the day every day, and apparently you didn't give it out correctly.
Clearly, with the gusto and aggression, still didn't translate. Hey, but that's okay. I'll take that. I will take that, and the reason why is because I come bearing gifts anyway to make it a little.
What do
better,
you have today?
To make the loss a little better here, I have not only some movie passes, a pair of movie tickets, and then also a pair of tickets to see UNLV Rebels football opener, the season opener, August 29th. So
okay,
that is
there
a
you go.
hot
That's
ticket.
against Memphis. That's a big one right
there. Yeah, that's a big
there.
deal. Yeah, at Allegiant. At Allegiant. Yeah, and the Rebels look like they're gonna do some good stuff this year. So
They better.
Right.
They better. Look, there's no more Boise State. They're not in the Mountain West anymore. San Diego State's not in the Mountain West anymore. If you don't dominate the damn Mountain West now, when are you going to do it?
Right.
I mean, it's put up or shut up time, right? What do they say? S or get off the pot?
Yep.
It's that time.
It's time to bring good football back to Las Vegas, right?
They were playing. They've been playing really good ball the last couple years.
Absolutely.
But they haven't got over Boise State. Or, you know what I mean? They haven't got past that big hurdle.
Yep.
So now they're no longer part of the conference, right? I mean, the conference, it looks different. Let's just put it like that. It's a lot different than it was. If you can't dominate the conference now, then it's never going to happen. I'm just convinced. So, again, we'll continue to pay attention, catch up, make sure we are always on top of UNLV, and we definitely want them to do the best. But, man, this has got to be it. I'm absolutely 100% convinced. I know that they have quarterback questions, which is never a good thing, but they've got to find a way to get it done. So, we'll always, every week, we'll be having our UNLV updates. That is for sure. So as you can tell, we got a big show lined up for you today. Excited about the opportunity to be here in Houston. Excited about the opportunity to be here all week long as we head into the game coming up on Thursday, and then get back on that bird on Friday morning, fly back to Vegas, and close out the week strong in the 7:02. Kirk Morisson at 2:30, Brandy Flores Day 13 recap at 3, Charean Williams Pro Football Talk at 3:30, and we'll hear from you throughout the course of the show at 702-365-9200. As Ari said, he has winning on the way as well. So with that being said, before we get into the opening drive, we got to hear from our guy E-Rob. Yesterday was important. The whole weekend was important. The rest of this week will be important. But today, this Monday, it's important as well. And why is that?
Because every day matters. The older you get, the more you start appreciating day in and day out. Because I can't get that time back. I'm in the business of saying, not if I would have did this or if I would have did that. I'm in the business of now.
I'm in the business of now as well. So right now, let's jump into the opening drive.
The opening drive of Unnecessary Roughness on RaiderNation Radio 920 AM is brought to you by Paul Patta Law. It's not about the injury, it's about the recovery.
I think it's real easy, today going into the opening drive, and especially with the week that we're going to have, and knowing that we're here in Houston and this joint practice coming up starting tomorrow with the Texans. I think it's real easy to break down and throw a topic out there and get some really good feedback. And it's simple. What do you believe will be the most beneficial part of the joint practices with the Texans? What do you believe that will be most beneficial? What are you looking to learn about this team? Because, again, with that defense that Houston has, especially that defensive line, you're going to learn a lot, in my opinion, about this team. But what do you believe will be the most beneficial part of the joint practice with Houston, and why? It's always the why that matters to me the most. 702-365-9200. To me, it's we've been talking about the trenches for so long. I'm going to stick with the trenches, right? How does that offensive line stack up against Will Anderson Jr.? How does that offensive line stack up with Danielle Hunter? How does that offensive line stack up with Caden McDonald? How does that offensive line stack up with those bloodthirsty Pirates that are going to be trying to take the head off of Kirk Cousins and Fernando Mendoza? Now, in the practice, they're not going to try to take the head off of, but you know how it goes down in the game, right? Those dudes want to get to the quarterback. Those guys are heat-seeking missiles. So, to me, it starts and ends there. I know that's not the only storyline. I know that that's not the biggest, or not even the biggest. It's not the only beneficial part of the joint practices, learning where the offensive line. There's so many different areas of this team that I do believe that we're going to learn about, and the Raiders in their own selves will benefit from this practice with the Texans. But for me and my money, that's where it is right there. I mean, I'm always talking about the secondary. I'm always paying attention to the skill players. There's certain areas of the team. Anyone who's listened to the show for any amount of time knows that I really lock in on and focus in on. But for me and my money, it's got to be the trenches. The trenches are going to let you know what's going on, who's stepping up, who's helping out, what five look best together, right? What does the competition look like? We saw earlier today that JPJ left the practice, did not return. That's never good, right? I was doing a radio hit earlier today with SiriusXM. Matter of fact, our good friend Amber Thea Harris and Robert Turbin, matter of fact, both of our really good friends, had me on the show, and I told him, I said, look, JPJ, he's a fan favorite. Raider Nation loves JPJ. I think he's a hell of a player. I know that he can have so much nasty to him. He can have that, as Lincoln Kennedy always calls him, the mauler in the middle type mentality. He could be that guy. But more times than not, through the course of his short career, he's been what? Unavailable. And I'm not saying that that's what he's going to be this year. I'm not saying that's what he's even going to be this week. But he did leave practice earlier today and did not return, and that's something that a lot of people have been talking about. And, again, sometimes it's just that's just how things go. That's just how things go. If, you never want to get that label of being injury-prone because it's hard to shake. And perfect example of that, look at Eric Stokes. Eric Stokes last year signed a one-year deal with the Raiders. And what was the big storyline behind Stokes? Can he stay healthy? And I remember talking to him in the locker room and saying, hey, man, how much are you trying to prove that, you can stay healthy? And he said, I know in my heart I can stay healthy. I know in my heart what I can bring to the table, but I do have to show others. Others need to see it, and that's what he did. 16 out of 17 games he played last year for the Silver and Black, and they rewarded him with a 3-year contract extension. That's a big deal. Availability. It's one of the oldest cliches. People hate it when I say it all the time. Your best ability is availability. People hate to hear that. Yeah, Q, we know. That's cool. But it's reality. It's just like in this job. If I wasn't available, I wouldn't be worth a damn. It doesn't matter if I'm good at it or not. If I'm only available 3 out of 5 days a week, guess what? That ain't going to get it done. That ain't going to cut it. Yeah, he's good when he's on. He just doesn't want to show up to the party for one reason or the other. It's the same thing. You could be the greatest athlete ever, but if you're not available consistently, that's going to be a knock. It's going to be a knock against you. And I know some don't want to hear it. Some think that, it's a narrative that the media created. No, it's not. I've said it before. I literally had someone from the Cowboys tell me when he got drafted, we had to take him off our draft board because of injuries. That was the note that I received. Hell of a player, and he is. So I don't know what the extent of this injury is. If it's something, maybe he comes back. Maybe he's here practicing tomorrow. That'd be great. That'd be awesome to see it. But none of that's guaranteed. And if he's not out there, guess who is? Caleb Rogers. And if him and Caleb Rogers, as they were splitting reps today until JPJ went down, if Caleb Rogers is consistently available and out there splitting reps, guess who's going to end up winning that job? The guy who's available, even if it's just by default. I mean, how many times have we gotten a job just because we're the last of the Mohicans there? Right? I ain't always been the first choice, but I was the available choice, right? I was the guy that they, he was there, and I had what I needed. I had the equipment or whatever the case is. Availability is such a big deal. So that will be something that I pay attention to, especially since the offensive line is what I'm really focusing on. I think that's going to be, the most beneficial part of this joint practice with Houston is learning where this offensive line is at this stage of the game. If JPJ for some reason happens to not be out there tomorrow and Caleb Rogers happens to get all the first-team reps at that right guard spot, especially if he holds his own. If he holds his own like DJ Glaze held his own when he went in, right? 2024, DJ Glaze was second on the depth chart at the right tackle spot. My guy goes down, and all of a sudden DJ Glaze has to be thrown into the mix, and he ain't never come off the field. DJ Glaze is like, I got this. Has everything been perfect? No, but he's been available. I would say, 95% of DJ Glaze's career he's been available? Just a small portion, a game or two here or there. I don't know the exact numbers, but it's not much that he's missed. It's something to be said about that. So, again, I throw it out there to you, 702-365-9200. We'll hear from Kirk Morisson coming up at 2:30, who's here in H-Town already. Get his thoughts on who he thinks this practice is going to benefit. You could just make a blanket statement and say it's going to benefit the whole damn team because every area needs work. But I think that when it comes to the most beneficial part of this practice, I think it's going to be in the trenches. I really do. And, look, Houston has some good dudes in the secondary, so the wide receivers are really going to get tested. You want to see, how Jack Besh builds off of what he did on Thursday night, how Big Mike builds off what he did Thursday night. I know Brock Bowers returned to practice today after having a personal day off. He was excused from practice on Sunday. No, that ran a scare through Raider Nation when they saw that he wasn't there. I ain't going to lie. When I looked and didn't see him, I was like, oh, man, that's the last thing this team can afford. They have to have that dude out there. Right? The pass catchers are already a question. You definitely want to have the biggest and baddest dude in the jungle, which is Brock Bowers. He's that guy. You need him out there. You have to have him out there as a straw that stirs the drink. But we do want to hear from you, 702-365-9200. Got a text from our guy Brent in the 702. I hate to say it, but I'm rapidly losing faith in JPJ. It's a detriment to the offensive line if he can't stay in there consistently. Just give Caleb Rogers the full-time position. That just plays into everything I just said. If that's how Brent feels, at a certain point, that's how the coaches are going to feel. Hey, we really like this guy, but you know what? He's not consistently available, so we can't build as a unit, and especially that unit. That unit is so important to be, one band, one sound, all rowing in the same direction. Again, wide receivers, they can go out and train on their own. Quarterbacks can throw passes they can find their old college teammates, say, hey, let's go run some routes. I want to practice some throws. How many times do we see Fernando Mendoza pull the center to the side and just get some extra reps? He did that on Sunday, as a matter of fact. There was a bad snap, and it would have been a fumble. Mendoza took the center over to the sideline and said, hey, let's do some practice snaps. You could do that. So many positions can work just by themselves, but the offensive line has to be one unit. Paul G brings it up all the time. Paul Gutierrez. Yeah, that offensive line, it's not necessarily the best 5 offensive linemen. It's the best 5 together. And so if you have one of your pieces aren't there consistently, then that's not one of the best 5 together. It's just simple as that. Big Zane hit us up and said, I think getting the DBs against the Texans' diverse, solid wide receiver core is going to be huge for the young dudes. That's going to be a good test. And the reason I think it's going to be a good test is because I've been talking about these guys in the secondary for a while, and I have appreciated what I've seen in camp. And then I also saw them go out on Thursday and allow the Cardinals quarterbacks to go 15 for 15 in the first half, and just about perfect for the game. And I remember as much as I was talking about the secondary, I kept saying, is it the secondary is that good? Are they that sticky in coverage? Or are the Raiders wide receivers not getting separation? So now, you got your DBs that we've been talking about, from Stokes to Porter to Masses to McCoy to Stukes to Johnson. You got Isaiah Poulamau, Jeremy Chin, Taron Johnson, all these guys that are out there competing for a handful of spots. You got these guys going at it against the Texans wide receivers, and you'll start to see how they look. Can they hold it down with them? Are they going to, do a little bit, be a little bit more physical at the line of scrimmage? Will you see them do some bump and run as opposed to just letting the wide receivers have a free release? I think that free release idea is a bad one, to be honest with you. I think that free release is a bad idea. I remember talking to Lincoln about it following the game. We were doing the post-game show. We'll be doing the same thing this week. I said, man, they just need to be more physical. And he said, yeah, no, you're wrong. You're not wrong. But they also aren't sure of what these guys that they're going up against are capable, so they play off to make sure that this guy doesn't out-physical him, doesn't get past him, because if you get past him, it's a wrap, right? I say it all the time, if you try to play bump and run and you miss, then you're cooked, right? The wide receiver is leaving you. Once you see the back of his jersey, it's over. Done deal records. And Jamad McCoy, he needs to continue to work and get more comfortable. And look, this is a young man that hasn't played football since 2024. His first taste of football was last week. So I think he's going to be good. You can see his technique is there. He just has to get all the mechanics together. Like, the technique, reading the wide receiver, boom, turning your head and getting your head turned around and trying to make a play on the ball. That's what he's going to have to do. But that'll come. So that'll really be good for him. But, a guy like Masses, even Porter, second-year guy. DeCam Richardson, I've been talking a lot about him. He didn't get an opportunity to even play on Thursday. Didn't see him at all. He was excused for the birth of his child, which I think that's excusable. I think everyone will give him a pass for that. But he's been good. He's been surprisingly good in training camp. He made a play yesterday, and he damn near had the interception, and Jeremy Chin got all pissed off at him in a good way, right? Obviously, they're brothers on defense, but, he played Trey Tucker perfectly, hit him at the line of scrimmage, gave him a little bump and run, ran with him, turned his head at the right time. The ball was right there in the bread basket, but DeCamp plays defense, and the ball fell to the ground, and Jeremy was right there playing over-the-top defense as well. It was a really good defensive play by both guys, and they just didn't finish. They didn't finish the job. Those are those game changers, right? It's great to get the pass breakup, but when the ball's there to get that interception, you got to get it. More times than not, when you don't get that interception, the next play you get burned. It's like giving a team an extra out in baseball. I say it all the time. If a team is right there and they should make a play and get that out, and then they don't, they always get burned. Like I feel like it's the next pitch they get burned. You cannot allow a team to get an extra out in baseball. They will burn you every time. Well, that's the same thing in the National Football League. If you have a ball in your breadbasket, if you have one that should be picked off, you got to make that play. Because if not, more times than not, they're going to come back and get you. Offenses are just really too good. Snake Man said, come on, y'all, give the guy a break and chill until we know the extent of the situation on JPJ. Word has it he popped right back up, walked off on his own, so maybe waited a day or two before we cast him overboard. I don't think anyone, and I do appreciate the text, Snake Man, I don't think anyone cast him overboard. And it's not just he went down on a play and popped back up and went to the training room and didn't return, which is true. But it's the history. It's the resume. It's like your kid got in trouble at school. The first time it's on, maybe your kid will say, "Hey, it was a mistake. I didn't do it." All right. Then the next time, all right, hey, no, it was someone. It was Mike. They were, Mike got me in trouble. Okay, cool. Maybe the third time, oh man, the teacher doesn't like me. Okay, at some point, it's you. And he's unfortunately, this is not trying to throw him overboard. Unfortunately, he's had a history of not being available. Just go back and look at the games played. I don't make these things up. I didn't just throw him overboard. He's the best option for the Raiders at that spot, in my opinion. But he's got to be available. And if he's not, well, that's a him thing. It's not a cute thing. I mean, he's in what, year 3 of his his career? How many games has he played? I think he only played, 8 last year? Again, you do the math. I'll tell you all that you need to know. So it's not, I don't know. It's funny when people all of a sudden decide that it's someone else's fault for someone else having a pattern. It's just what it is. And again, to who was it that said they're just getting tired of? I mean, at some point, it does get tiresome, no matter how you look at it. So, I mean, again, you could blame me for being the weatherman and telling you that it might be raining outside, or you could be mad at the fact that the guy's not available all the time. You choose. If it's easier to be mad at me, then so be it. That's fine. He's played 23 games in his career, 8 games last year. It's 34 possible games, so he's missed 11 so far. It's not on me. Sir Whiskey Ray, hey Q, the news on JPJ, it's the next man up. Numbers don't lie. His availability isn't something we could depend on. I'm hoping he's going to be okay. Cheers, Sir Whiskey Ray. Hey, don't throw him overboard, though. Don't throw him overboard. 702-365-9200. Let me know your thoughts. What do you believe will be the most beneficial part of the joint practices with Houston? Starting tomorrow, obviously the game will be coming up on Thursday. We're here live in Houston right now. We'll talk to Kirk Morisson, ask him that question and more. We'll do it next here on RaiderNation Radio 920.
That was the opening drive of Unnecessary Roughness on RaiderNation Radio 920 AM. Brought to you by Paul Padala. It's not about the injury. It's about the recovery.
As a team, we got to improve. There's a lot of improvement. Offense, defense, special teams. There's things that I liked. There's things that we got to get better. We put a lot of time into that yesterday, and we all know, again, that it is our 4th week of training camp. We're a team that's still gelling together. I just want them to just keep getting better. Him, Aiden, Kirk, all those guys just keep improving. There's not one thing we're looking for. There's a million things, but we got to get them focusing on the details of each play and take it one rep at a time, down to down. And if he has that mentality as well as the other guys, they will continue to improve.
Las Vegas Raiders color analyst Kirk Morisson joins us now on Unnecessary Roughness.
As we come into the sounds of head coach Clint Kubiak talking about improving, talking about being in training camp for 4 weeks, and they've got to continue to improve and come together, and that's what they're going to attempt to do this week as they're taking on the Houston Texans on Thursday. They'll have their joint practice coming up tomorrow. We're in Houston right now, and, of course, our coverage is being brought to you by Paul Padala. It's Unnecessary Roughness here on RaiderNation Radio 920. Kirk Morisson does join us now here on the phone lines. And, Kirk, thanks so much for your time. As always, the Raiders have one preseason game already in the books. They've had a couple practices. Now they'll be going up against the Texans starting tomorrow. How beneficial are these joint practices, even to the point where some coaches like them a little bit more than they even like the preseason games?
Man, it's a controlled environment, Q. And when I say controlled environment, I can get some good work and not get my quarterback killed, right? Mm-hmm. The quarterbacks will still have their red jerseys on or their different color jerseys opposite of what their teammates will be wearing. But you can get some good work one-on-one, good on good, as we used to always say. And you do it in your settings. If you think about it, when you have a preseason game, Q, very rarely do you get those situations, okay? Mm-hmm. I thought last week it was some good situational football that Clint Kubiak, did some things, right? And the Raiders didn't handle those situations well, whether it was a backed up scenario in the third quarter, I believe, in the fourth quarter, or you're down 2 scores. Remember, Clint Kubiak starts calling those timeouts with 6 minutes to go, and the Raiders had an opportunity to score and then hopefully score again. But remember, there was a turnover on downs, and it was all bad. I bring all that up because you can now have a practice where you can go over those scenarios. I'm going to have a red zone. I'm going to have a blitz period. I'm going to have a 1st and 10. I'm going to have a 3rd down. I'm going to do a backed up. I'm going to do a 2-minute. You don't get those scenarios a lot in a preseason game. But when you can have those scenarios in a practice against another football team, that's some good quality work. And I know for me, it always brought the best out of me as a player. It's an intensity that comes with it. And it's a physicality point, too. You're going against one of the more physical teams. So I'm excited for what I think is going to take place tomorrow.
I asked earlier, what Raider Nation thinks will be the most beneficial part of this practice or what unit's going to be tested the most. And I identified the offensive line. How much are you going to be focused in on the trenches and what that Texans defensive line goes up against that Raiders offensive line looks like?
Yeah, I told people before training camp even started. I may even told you. I know I told Vinny Bonsignore, but I said we can, no matter what happens from now until August 17th or August 18th, I'll know more about this football team when they travel down to Houston. And for me, the big part is about this offensive line. That is what I'm excited to see what they do in terms of going up against a Danielle Hunter and obviously on the opposite side, Will Anderson Jr. I love the secondary. I love the linebacker. This is the number one defense, I think, in the National Football League. They play that type of style. So to me, I thought this was going to be a huge test for our offense. But I think from what I've also seen in training camp so far, and everybody overreacting about the defensive backs for the Raiders last week, this is now a huge test against a wide receiving group that does not look like ours. Like, this is an AAU team when I'm talking about the Houston Texans. Right. If you're not 6'2" and above, that you can't play for the Texans. Nico Collins is 6'4", man. What is Hutchinson? He's 6'3". He's 6'2", right? Justin Watson, we know from the Kansas City Chiefs, he's 6'2". What did the Raiders not do in the preseason game? Number one, in defensive backs, they didn't
break up any passes.
Physical.
Right.
You know what, Q? They didn't play physical at the top of the route.
Right.
And I'm not saying, like, man, why didn't they do? What was going on? And the first thing that taught to me is that they don't have that receiver on their football team, right? So this was their first time seeing it. And then all of a sudden now the Raiders signed Noah Gray, and they'll look a lot better now. I think that they realize, okay, look, I was thinking about it, right? You remember the first time you go to Sizzler and you don't realize, like, you can keep going back for more and more, right?
Yeah.
So it's like the first time you go in and then you're like, wait, I could have did what? Wait, that was unlimited? I could have got more of this. I get more of that. And you don't think about it till you get home. I thought that's what happened with the defensive backs last week, is that they didn't do some things that they really should. This is their first time playing football. That was their first National Football League game. I know it was a preseason game, but I think I just, sometimes I think about my own career, and I think about the first game that I played, and I couldn't wait to get back out there again, because you just want to go play, do your job. You're thinking a lot. This game, they're just going to let it go. It's like, look, okay, Jamal McCoy, Hezekiah Masses, I'm excited. These dudes going to play with their hair on fire.
Kirk Morisson is with us here on RaiderNation Radio 920, Unnecessary Roughness. So with that being said, now that the preseason is not 4 games like it used to be, it's only 3, what are your expectations for what we should look to see on Thursday when it comes to the actual game?
So this is a little bit tricky because you do have the joint practice. Mm-hmm. So the joint practice is almost like the actual game. So you may see some starters not play on Thursday because you got a majority of their reps on Tuesday. So I wouldn't be surprised if some guys aren't playing or in a limited capacity, because you came here you're coming here to get the work in on Tuesday. Let's be real.
Right.
But then you have some guys who need to get into some game situations and game scenarios, and this could be an extended version for a Fernando Mendoza at the quarterback spot. Kirk Cousins came out in one drive and showed you, okay, he good. There was no one's talking about Kirk, how efficient he was. It was more all about Fernando. And I think this is a good week for Fernando to get some extended play along with Aiden O'Connell. And maybe we get a chance to even see Jacob Clark as well. That's why I think that it'll be different how they handle it. Because, I guess, like I said, it's hard to say this is the dress rehearsal week, because this isn't a true week because you're practicing against a team. So I think we throw out the way that we see preseason this year for the Raiders. There is no true dress rehearsal. I think it's really just about the work. Look, we got to come down and get some work in, and then we'll go from there as we still try to fill out this roster.
One of the things I wanted to see last week was Kirk Cousins go out there and play well, because like you said, nobody's talking about Kirk. They're just talking about Fernando, and he did. Like you said, 1 drive, 1 touchdown, and he was out of there. With that being said, has Fernando gained some ground? How do you view that quarterback competition between Kirk and Fernando right now?
I mean, I still view it as the same. I mean, there's some things that Fernando's going to continue to work on. I don't think anybody said after the game was over last week, okay, Fernando's got the job. No. Everybody's like, wow, the Raiders actually have two competent quarterbacks. Right. That's what I heard from the people who I talked to. Said, man, that's a great situation. You actually have Kirk Cousins, so you don't have to rush Fernando Mendoza out there. You saw a lot of good, but you also saw some things that you want to have back. I want to see him, be able to see cover two and not get my guy, New York Mike Washington, hit on the outside on that one play. I want to see him throw the ball away and not get hit. I want to see him, speed up the clock in his head in the red zone and not take that sack. So there are some things that are still parts that he needs to improve on, but I just love the scenario. I just love the situation that you have, that you don't have to rush him out there the way that Kirk Cousins is playing. And he had a great day of practice as well today, last couple of days of practice. So, Kirk Cousins is doing enough to keep Fernando at bay, but we know that Fernando is getting better week in and week out. And I don't think we're saying that Fernando's not going to play at all this year, right. But there is no rush that he needs to be out there ASAP.
I got a good laugh out of it. I don't know how you felt, but when he stepped to the podium after the game and he said, normally when I roll out to the right, I'm able to hit the corner. And all of a sudden, there's a defender right there. And I said, the slow guys are even fast in the NFL. What did you think when he – was that kind of his welcome to the league and, these guys are all fast compared to what you had in college?
Oh, yeah, because he was trying to get out, and I believe it was the one where he tried to throw the ball out of bounds, like along the sideline, and he realized, he was still trying to gather himself. It's one of those plays where you just flick it out of bounds. You're not going to be able to get everything on it. You just got to get it out of bounds past the line to the original line of scrimmage, so you don't get a intentional grounding call. But he realized how quick and how fast, this thing was. I was really – I just think that the Arizona Cardinals last week had a week under their belt, and you can see how well that they played in a preseason game. The Raiders now see what it feels like to now get into a game competition. They'll be so much better this week, and I think the defense will be so much. I knew the defense was going to struggle a little bit. I just knew. And the reason why I knew is because I went down there and I talked to Rob Litter before. I was like, what are we going to do? And he basically said, look, we're going to be vanilla. We're going to be vanilla today. We got to be vanilla. We just want to see guys go out there and play their technique. People don't realize, now that I'm Jermod McCoy and Hezekiah Massis, now I got to know who I'm going up against. I'll tell you this. They had never seen Simi Fehoko before. They didn't know who Simi Fehoko was. I do. I love college football. He was an outstanding receiver and played over at Stanford a little bit. He's a guy that, can go up and make the contested catch. Well, I don't think Jermod McCoy knew that. So I bet you now, next time he's looking at these receivers, or what can the guy across from me do? Always had a coach used to tell me this, Q. Know your ability and the guy across from you's ability. Okay? Mm-hmm. I had to learn that. I'm a rookie. I go out there. I know my ability. Oh, my God, that's number 21 in a blue and white jersey. That's LaDainian Tomlinson. Okay, I know his ability. I'm going to probably need some help here on this third down if I got him man-to-man. Where is my help? Right. Who can I look to get a little bit of help if he breaks out? Because I'm going to play to his inside. And I was able to knock a ball away because I played to my help because I knew my ability. But I know that his ability is a little bit more than I can probably get to. But those are the things that you learn with reps. But you also learn that through study week in and week out. Ain't nobody game planning last week. There wasn't no studying. There wasn't no game plan. Last week was vanilla, go play, execute. That's why when people always ask me, man, you saw how good that Ty Simpson played or Drew Aller, this person, I said, you know what this league is about? Do it again. Right. That's what this league's about. Do it again. Mm-hmm. Show me again. Everybody can do it once, but can you do it again? And if you can do it again and again and year after year, that's how you get a Canton. That's how you go to Canton. That's how you go to the Hall of Fame. That's how you're a Pro Bowler, all pro. Everybody can do it for a year or two, but the guys who can do it consistently throughout a career are the great ones. That's what I think we're all striving for.
Kirk Morisson is with us here at RaiderNation Radio 920 Unnecessary Roughness. Well, we'll close out with this. We heard today that JPJ left practice. It's unfortunate. Hopefully he gets back tomorrow. Hopefully he's out there tomorrow. We don't know the extent of it. But just for a guy that's in the competition at that right guard spot, how valuable is it that he gets back out there and doesn't miss too many reps?
I mean, this is kind of a similar situation that we had last season. Remember where he was in the same position? I believe last year was, the ankle during training camp? Yep. Mm-hmm. And so you're trying to put that offensive line together last year, and now is he playing center? Is he not? And they just say, you know what, Jordan Meredith, I think he's going to be the center, and then right. JPJ's playing the right guard, and it was just so much going on because of the injury history. So you hope that he's out there. He's had some good. He's had some bad. I mean, last week he had the tripping call, that was nullified because there was a penalty on the Arizona as well. But it's those types of things that you want to see him clean up. But at the end of the day, when it all comes together, it goes back to what me and you talked about before training camp started. The great Clint Kubiak, the philosopher, told us what, Q? What did
it
he
will
tell
reveal
us,
itself. It will reveal itself.
See, sometimes you just have to sit back, and it's just that simple. You get what I mean?
I do.
Like, because everybody's gonna say, what are we gonna do here? And what if he's hurt? What if he's hurt? And I just say, look, it will all reveal itself. Yep. And when it does, you make adjustments. That's all it is. This is part of training camp. It will reveal itself. So other guys will probably get opportunities if JPJ can't go. But man, this will be tough because this is the best week for an evaluation, right? And this is also one of those situations too. And you don't want to put this on a player, but how bad do you want it?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
This is also one of the weeks that you got maybe your big toe got stepped on, or you might have a little. No, we playing against the Texans this week. Take me up tight. Mm-hmm. I want to go. I want to practice. Peel me off the field. I want to go. Sorry, coach. I want to go out there and prove. This is one of those weeks to go out and prove it. So we'll see what happens. I hope he's available to go out there and compete against that front. I know you'll be watching him, JPJ, or the inside guards versus Cade McDonald. I know you're gonna have a camera on Cade McDonald all day. I'm gonna make sure you get an autograph. Everybody was like, "Oh, Q is coming to Houston. He can't wait for joint practices. He wants to see the offense. He wants to." I said, honestly, he's really just there to see Cade McDonald. That's what he's there for.
That was my guy.
What he's there for.
That was my guy.
That is your guy. No, it's all good, man. I love it. I just know how valuable these next couple of days are for everybody, and I think also too, we don't talk about how valuable this is for Clint Kubiak to really and John Spytek. I mean, this roster is still being done up, and I can leave you with this one. I think I said this to you before the season started, because not before training camp was started, about the Raiders and their waiver wire claim. Mm-hmm. The Raiders, for the first 3 weeks of the season, because of where they finished last year, they hold the number one waiver spot. So, and then I told people, just let it all reveal itself. But if you're not comfortable, the Raiders, this is my homework for people over the next 2 games. Look at the second kicker on every team, because there are some kickers that are good that are going to get cut. That's just right. And the only reason why I bring it up was because I covered the Rams for 9 seasons before joining the Raiders last year in the broadcast. Yep. Matt Gay is a Super Bowl winning kicker. You know how he got the job with the Rams? He was cut by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The Rams picked him up. He's kicking in week 1. Next thing you know, he's kicking in the NFC playoffs, and he kicks the Rams into the Super Bowl and beating Tom Brady and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, a team that cut him earlier in the year. He goes on to have a nice couple of years, turns it into a big contract, and look where he's at now in a training camp battle against Kansei Matsuzawa. But I bring all this up just because your kicker may not be on your team right now, because there could be a better option out there if there looks to be some shakiness from Matt Gay. It hasn't been just yet, but just know that the Raiders do have some tools in their belt right now with their waiver claim that they can grab a guy off of another team's waivers when cut down day comes.
There you go, Raider Nation. You have your homework now. You have your homework assigned by Kirk Morisson to go out there and check out the second kicker on every team, see who they are, learn about them, know who they are, because maybe, just maybe, the Raiders might have to make a claim if things don't go right with the kicking situation that they have currently. So, okay, There it is. I don't mind a homework assignment.
It's a little homework assignment because, hey, man, everybody was in love with the Tokyo Toad. And, man, that boy kicked that thing wide right. I ain't never seen so many people got so upset. Oh, what are we doing? Why are you? I'm like, oh, relax, people. Hey,
right.
You just missed one kick. But that's what happened. That's sports, man. We all love one scenario, and, you know, a guy doesn't play well, and we quickly move on. So that's how it is.
That's exactly how it is. What have you done for me lately? That's how the NFL is. That's how sports are in general, as you know. Well, great stuff as always. I'm here in H-Town. You're already here, right? You already made it to Houston?
Yeah, I'm out here right now. It's 102 with some humidity, dude. I thought Vegas was hot. This Houston heat is just different.
Yes. It is.
It ain't Vegas. Vegas is like, it's hot, and you just looking up at the sky like, why? Houston is just like, it's just hot, but it's also sticky.
Yep.
So that's all, man.
I was going to go to lunch, and it said that my spot was 3 minutes away from my Airbnb, and I thought about walking, and then I got outside and said, nope, not going to do that. Let me go ahead and get a Uber to take me there.
No, you Uber, that's what you doing. Uber Eats, you getting some Postmates, huh?
Hey, man, I Ubered to the spot.
Outside.
No, I went to the spot. I went to hang out, but I got in the car. I didn't walk. I'm not walking.
I got you. Who let you borrow their studio anyway? Where you at? Who let you borrow their studio?
I got Studio Q with me, man. I brought Studio Q with me. That's how I roll. Yeah, that's what I do, man.
You roll.
I'm not missing those shows. You know I'm not going to miss any shows. You know how I am.
I know. All right, I see you. See,
I'll be on ESPN tonight, too. I'll do all my shows.
You're doing it all. You're doing it all. Okay.
Yep, exactly.
See, we need that mentality on the offensive line, brother. I'm telling you.
Exactly. There you go. That's how you tie it all together. Great stuff as always, Kirk. Thanks so much. I'll see you tomorrow bright and early.
I see you tomorrow, man. Wear your sunscreen.
There you go. You know I will. Great stuff right there. Kirk Morisson, Tackle for Loss TV, Raiders broadcast, former Raiders linebacker with us here on Raider Nation Radio 920. Hour number 2 is on the way, 702-365-9200. What do you believe will be the most beneficial part of the joint practice with the Texans coming up tomorrow morning? Let me know your thoughts. 702-365-9200. It's Raider Nation Radio 920.
You know, preseason coaches don't want to show everything, but joint practices definitely. We'll see some things that, we haven't been working on, so it'll be good for us. Absolutely. Of course, we got some young guys coming in. They're young and hungry and eager to learn. Them just being here has pushed me, honestly. The coaches have been pushing me, so I take it upon myself to, it's on me. I got to push through and just make sure I'm on top of everything and make it a difficult decision.
It's Unnecessary Roughness. Presented by Meineke, doing car care right. Here's your boy Q.
Kicking off hour number 2 of the show, Isaiah Pulamal coming in, talking about joint practices, talking about the competition in the secondary, and trust and believe there is plenty of competition in the secondary. Trayden Stukes, a second-round pick. He's a guy that's competing to be out there. He's out there practicing a lot with the first team as well. We'll actually get a training camp recap, or quick recap from Brandy Flores, who was out there today. She's on her way to Houston. She's traveling. I made that flight out last night, so I didn't get to go to practice today, but she was there, and she'll give us a quick little recap, and then we'll both be out here for tomorrow's joint practice, along with Kirk Morisson, Vinny Bonsignor, Sam Warren, all the usual suspects that cover the team will all be here to observe these joint practices that I'm very excited about, and I believe the players are as well. Even talking to Adam Butler on Sunday, you could just kind of tell the look in his eye that he was ready to go up against these guys in Houston and, go up against some guys that, they haven't seen what they're all about. They get to see their own players in practice every single day, but now they're going up against someone else. So you can see on Sunday that it looked like, okay, they're pretty much ready to go in this practice. And like I said at top, I think we'll learn a lot about this team based off what we see tomorrow and what we see coming up on Thursday. But let's hear from you, 702-365-9200. What do you believe will be the most beneficial part of the joint practice with the Houston Texans that comes up tomorrow? It is Unnecessary Roughness here on RaiderNation Radio 920. Charean Williams from Pro Football Talk will join us coming up at 3:30. Big Mike from the 559 said, Q, can we please get Daniel Carlson back? What are we looking for against the Texans? Building more continuity with the offensive line, wide receivers, and defense. If we are still being vanilla on play calling, need to generate pressure with depth on the defensive line. So a couple things there. Yeah, I don't know what's going on with Daniel Carlson and why he is not, one, with the Raiders or two, with the team in general. I'm not too sure if that's, him pricing himself out or his agent pricing him out of the market. If he's satisfied, if there's only a few teams. Like, we don't know the circumstance. I couldn't begin to speak for anyone else. I don't know the circumstance and what he's looking for, what he's not looking for, what teams are looking for. But I'm pretty interested in, a guy that was as good as he was with the Raiders. And, yes, I know last year was a slight step back, but as good as he was with the Raiders, him not being on any team across the league is kind of surprising as far as I'm concerned. The continuity with the offensive line is something that I talked about early. That's definitely what I'm going to be paying attention to. Wide receivers, defense, there's no doubt about that. I want to see if these wide receivers can get some kind of, production and have some success against the Texans secondary. Because, again, as Kirk Morisson, who joined us in the last hour, told us, this defense is a Super Bowl worthy defense. There's a reason why I picked the Texans to go to the Super Bowl last year, because I thought that the offense was going to be good enough to get it done, because that defense is stellar. And so if you as an offense have success against this defense, then you feel good. That you want to talk about a confidence booster. You want to talk about the ball going through the hoop a couple times. That's where that is at. If you have success against this defense, and the funny thing is, and we talked about it a few weeks ago, is that Ashton Jeanty had a ton of success against his team last year in the game. Had one of his best games of his short pro career, his rookie year. Right? It was the second most yards that he ran for. Had multiple touchdowns in that game. Like, he was very successful last year. So, want to see what that's going to look like. That defensive line is nasty. They've got plenty of dudes, as Kirk Morisson pointed out. Then, Caden McDonald was my guy in the draft. Anyone that listened to it knows that I was a big fan of what he could do from that defensive line position. And, he's just a small piece. When they say make a strength stronger, that's exactly what the Texans did. They already have a strong defensive line. All they did is make their strength even stronger by going out and drafting him. So he doesn't have to be the end-all, be-all, not right away. All he has to do is be part of that rotation, which I'm sure is exactly how DeMeco Ryans envisions him when they add him to the mix. So that'll be part of what we see coming up tomorrow. But do want to continue to hear from you at 702-365-9200. Let's see. We got this text from Jason in Baltimore. It's always great to hear from him. He said, personally, I'm not going to get all hot and bothered by anyone leaving the camp practice early. I'll go ahead and wait for them to announce whatever the injury is, or wait until they say he's returned to practice. It does no good to speculate to the negative or positive when you don't actually know. I just look forward for the team to get practice work against what is being projected as a top AFC team, and that we played real tough last year. So I'm just willing to let camp play out. I do expect the team to improve overall as the weeks progress, but at this point I'm not sure what to expect. That's how bad the coaching has been. To me, the bad coaching made the talent we have look terrible. That's Jason in Baltimore. Really good breakdown as always. It's good to hear from you. And look, there's no speculation on any injuries. We don't want to do that, but I just know when you're in a competition of any sort, if you're not actually out there competing, that doesn't do you any good. And again, going back to JPJ, he might be out there tomorrow. And if he is out there, fantastic. If he isn't, well, that's just one day missed. And you only get so many of these days, right? And once you start missing multiple days, and again, not saying he's going to, but when you start missing multiple days, that's when everything starts stacking against you. That's the big problem. That's all that I've tried to bring up. Like my man Snake Man said, don't everyone throw him overboard. Obviously, throwing him overboard, he's saying giving up on him. I get that. I'm not giving up on him. I'm not throwing him overboard. It's just not – it's not good when you can't – when you can't finish practice or you're not available all the time. It's just something that works against you. It's unfortunate, but that's what this is all about at the end of the day, right? Who's going to be out there? Who's going to be available? Matter of fact, last year, all of a sudden Jordan Meredith ended up becoming – the starting center. Now, there were so many different, elements that were in play there. It was pretty much a cluster as far as I'm concerned, but part of it was lack of availability as well. And that's just unfortunate because you want your best guys out there all the time. Really good text, Jason, as always. Snake Man, really good stuff. Keep that feedback coming to 9200. Again, the question that I threw out there to you, what do you believe will be the most beneficial part of the joint practice with the Texans coming up tomorrow ahead of the game that comes up on Thursday? But right now, I do want to hear from Brandy Flores, who was there at the Intermountain Health Performance Center earlier today. She does a fantastic job, always doing a recap of practice, putting it out on social media at RNR 920 AM. That's our Twitter account. She puts it out each and every day, just kind of wrapping up what she saw, what she heard from practice, and even after talking to some of the players and coaches as well. So let's go ahead and hear real quick what Brandy had to say following today's practice.
Raider training camp day 13, and we're going to get the biggest news out of the way first. Jackson Powers Johnson went down for a moment during red zone team drills. He did pop right back up and then walked away on his own volition with the team trainer into the building. We don't know the severity of his injury, if it was an injury or precaution or anything like that. We weren't able to speak with any coaching staff immediately after practice, so we will definitely find out what the update is with JPJ in Houston on Tuesday when they do have their first joint practice with the Texans. Now, we did see for the first time today, though, wide receiver Noah Brown, who was recently signed by the Raiders. He spent time with the Commanders the past couple of years, started his career in Dallas. He's a veteran wide receiver, and especially with Dante Thornton Jr. working off to the side, not seemingly 100% at practice, it is going to be good to see a guy like Noah Brown, a veteran, add some depth to this receiver room. Tonka Hemingway and Brock Bowers both back at practice today in full force. Brock Bowers just making Brock Bowers-like catches, contested in tight coverage. A great day for Kirk Cousins as well on offense. He was really making some great throws in the end zone, a couple to Brock Bowers as well during those red zone drills. Meanwhile, Charles Grant, offensive lineman, had a great preseason game in the after practice today. He spoke with the media and talked about how, yes, it was great that on the tape he was doing his job, but it's more so how excited he was that everybody on the line was doing their job.
And in the moment, it kind of surprised me for real, but looking at it, the thing that stands out is everybody blocking. Like, everybody was hat for a hat. It took all 11, even the receivers blocking downfield. That's what was able to screen that big run.
We also heard from rookie defensive end Kieron Crawford, who had a bit of a rocky start. He said that he put a lot of pressure on himself mentally, but he feels like he is just now starting to hit his stride and got a lot of jitters out in that first preseason game, as he and the team are excited to face another team in the Houston Texans at the joint practice, which is on Tuesday.
Just being able to stick to what I'm told and what I've been taught, just going out here, nothing's going to change as far as the work ethic and the things that all the guys come in here and put the work in to do. So we all gonna play as one and compete.
But yeah, it's a great opportunity to improve and compete. Getting ready to play the best. So we got to show that we can work with the best.
Preseason coaches don't want to show everything, but joint practices definitely. We'll see some things that we haven't been working on. So it'll be good for us.
So the team will wrap up Monday and then take a quick flight to Houston as they get ready for the Texans tomorrow, as will we. Q and I are both going to be there at the joint practice and at the second preseason game in Houston. Be sure and stay tapped in with us on RaiderNation Radio 920. Oh, and Vinny will also be at the game as well on Thursday. So we got full coverage for you. Be sure to stay locked with us, RaiderNation Radio 920.
Great stuff right there from Brandy Flores, just putting a bow on today's practice there at the Intermountain Health Performance Center. And, of course, all our coverage here from Houston will be brought to you by Paul Patta Law, so we definitely appreciate them and shout them out for helping us get here. Myself, Brandy, and, of course, Vinny will be along for the ride coming up later on this week as well. So a lot to look forward to. Exciting time. By the time we get back to Las Vegas on Friday morning, 2 preseason games will already be in the books. That's wild that this stuff goes by so quickly. Training camp is literally almost over. I was looking at my calendar. I have it taped up in Studio Q at the house, and I was just checking another day off, and realizing how quickly these days are going by. And sooner rather than later, we'll be there in Allegiant Stadium for this game to start the season off against the Miami Dolphins on September 13th, and everything will matter. Everything will be real. All the games, everything's going to go into the record book, go on the stat sheet. I mean, it's all for each and every week is gonna be a big deal. So looking forward to that and seeing how quickly everything comes together. But again, can't get too far ahead of ourselves. It's one day at a time. But this is the second week already of preseason. So I asked the question, threw it out there. What do you think, or who do you think is going to be most benefited, and what will be most beneficial about this joint practice against the Houston Texans? We'll see it early tomorrow morning. Matter of fact, 9 o'clock Central Time is when everything gets started. So 7 a.m. Pacific Time. And practice that's about that time it's been anyway. It's been around 7:30 there in Henderson. So it's just about the same time. So we'll be up there, like I said, bright and early. Barry in Baltimore said, what's up, Q? I think the most beneficial part of the practice with the Texans is for the Raiders offense to go up against a really, really good defense and see how they respond and how they operate the offense with the defense like the Texans. It can only make them better. That's the thing about it is, like, this is no joke of a team. It's not like this is some team that's just, some pushover or some team that you look at and it's like, oh, man, they're not very good. They don't have very much talent. These dudes, especially defensively, have talent everywhere. Now, offense, you could look at and say, okay, there's some questions there. And there are, right? I am intrigued to see, because they went and made that trade for David Montgomery, want to see what their running game looks like, see if C.J. Stroud at their quarterback position bounces back from a rocky end to what the 2025 campaign. But it's all about this Texans defense. It really is. Like, if you want to know, all you need to know about this Raiders team and offense in general, just pay attention to this joint practice. That's, like I said, that's going to tell you so much. The one-on-ones that we get excited to see, the one-on-ones in camp when it's the Raiders on the Raiders. You think those one-on-ones aren't going to be fantastic? The Texans defense against the Raiders wide receivers and vice versa. Oh man, come on. That's going to be a really good one. So, thank you, Barry, for that. Do appreciate you. East Oakland Raiders said practice versus Houston is going to tell us a lot about how the season will go if the offensive line gets deboed and gets their lunch took. Another long season, tired of seeing trash. Come on, Raiders. Yeah, I mean, it will, right? And I went, that's where I went. I went to the offensive line as well. And there's a chance that they could get deboed, right? Because, again, the Texans, they're not only very talented dudes, they're talented dudes that have been playing together for a while, right? So they're already a well-oiled machine. It's like this is another year coming back playing in that same defense. All they're doing is just getting ramped up and ready for the regular season. Well, the Raiders have all this new. So there's a chance that they could get deboed. Now, if they don't and they hold up, then all of a sudden you got something. And, a really good example of that would be, I don't remember how many years ago it was, but remember when the Raiders were going up against the Rams in joint practice and Hunter Renfrow was doing really well, and people were saying that he was getting the best of Jalen Ramsey, and it's like, that's unheard of. Jalen Ramsey is fantastic. There's no way that Hunter Renfrow is getting the best of Jalen Ramsey. And then Jalen said something about Hunter being a really good wide receiver. He's like, man, he's what he does, he's really good at. And then all of a sudden, what do we see from Hunter? We saw Hunter go out and have an amazing season, and when they needed him the most, when all his his running buddies went down, Hunter was the last man standing. He was still having success. So it's funny because that joint practice, I mean, we already knew that he was a good wide receiver. Hell, I remember when he was at Clemson, him being the go-to guy for Deshaun Watson when they had to have it. Again, that's what brought up the third and Renfrow name. Got to have it moment. Watson was looking for Renfrow. Out of all the talent that he had on that squad, he was looking for Hunter. But after that training camp, after he had that success against Jalen Ramsey, he really showed up to the season the next year and really balled out. Really had a good go at it. So, you might see something or you might hear about something tomorrow, a wide receiver, a DB, an offensive lineman, whatever the case may be. You may hear about one of these guys standing out and really, catching some folks' attention, and then him turn that into a really big season potentially. So again, it's all what we're here to see, and what I can't wait to be able to come back and talk about what exactly I saw and what I heard from this joint practice tomorrow. 702-365-9200. Let's go out to San Carlos, talk to our friend Scott. Scott, welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hey, Q, how you doing?
I'm good, man. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. So, yeah, I got a little bit different angle, I think, on who I think or what unit, I guess, could benefit the most. And I'm actually going to say the coaching staff.
Okay.
And the reason I say that is, all new coaches except for Rob Leonard, but he's in a new role. They have a bunch of players they don't really know that well. And what I'll be really curious to see is, and I'm not taking a shot at former coaches, but you play Houston, you know how good their defense is, you know how great that defensive line is, and you're going to work with them for a whole day in joint practice. And then what we used to see is they'd go out there in the preseason game the next night and still get the quarterback killed. And, because, it's a mismatch, they got more talent. What I'm curious to see is what adjustments we might make to the play call on Wednesday night and have that, see if the stuff that they see and the stuff that they learn from the joint practice carries over, I know it's still going to be a vanilla game plan, but I just hope that Cousins doesn't get out there, or AOC or whoever it is they choose to start that game doesn't just, where you're looking at it and going, okay, well, here we go. We're just going to let these guys beat us up, even though we know, we probably haven't got the talent to play them straight up. So that would be my take and kind of what I'm hoping to see. There's obviously going to be a lot of position battles there to benefit the guys, but I that's what I'm kind of curious about. And then, I got to say one more thing, but Kubiak must have been listening to me when I called your show on Friday, man, because now I see Malik out there with the ones here and there.
Yep.
And I just thought that was funny. We talked on Friday, and I was like, just put him out there. And then over the weekend, I was like, oh, yep, I hear a little bit here and there about him getting out with the ones. So, anyway, that's my take on the joint practice. I think it's a really good thing. I think that Kirk Morisson had a great point about the control you have and how you can set up situations that you want to see different players perform in. So, we'll see how it all shapes up in the game. Thank you.
Hey, man, thank you, Scott. Good call. Really good call. And, yeah, man, Benson continues to get love. There's no doubt about that. He continues to get love, and for good reason. He's continued to earn it. I'm not mad at that at all. If he can step up and be that guy, especially as a 6th-round pick, that guy goes out there and, is running with the ones. And the thing that I think is most exciting about Benson is not that even, okay, he's going to be a starter week 1. It's just that he has a really good relationship already with Fernando Mendoza. Like, their chemistry is already on. As much as every time a quarterback throws the ball to Brock Bowers and I turn and look to whoever's standing next to me and say, he's always open, and I do that every practice. Every single time he catches the ball, I just look at it could be Brandy, it could be Sam Gordon, it could be Adam Hill, it could be Paul Gutierrez, it could be Vinny, it could be anyone. It don't matter. I just look and say, he's always open. He's always open, and that's why I think he's in for such a big year if, in fact, he stays healthy, obviously, throughout the course of the year. If he does, it's going to be something special, something to get excited about. It doesn't surprise me at all, not at all, whenever Fernando Mendoza completes a pass to Malik Benson. Every single time he completes one, I just look over and it's like, yep, there's that connection. Of course it's Benson, right? I think that's my exact words. Of course it's him. Of course it's him. They have a really good chemistry, which should excite you because we know that is the future quarterback sooner rather than later. And when those guys are out there, they're going to make some magic together. They really will. I mean, to me, did it surprise you at all on that 20-yard completion that it was Mendoza to Benson? Did that surprise anybody? I don't think so. And he had the confidence to throw that ball, knowing that Benson was going to be where he needed to be. That didn't surprise me because, again, they've got the time on task. They've built that chemistry already, and that, to me, is what's going to be the difference maker. That's what they're working on right now, and they're working on that with all the team. They're trying to get that chemistry in all the different units, whether that's the secondary, whether it's the linebacking group, whether it's the offensive line, defensive line. Everyone's trying to build that chemistry where the right hand knows what the left hand's doing. They're all on the same page. They understand each other, and that's one combination they really get excited about, Fernando Mendoza to Malik Benson. Thanks so much for the call. Do appreciate you, and we'll be interested to see what the coaching staff looks like, how they adjust to and counter what the Houston Texans throw at them. It's a really good point that Scott brings up. Thank you for the call. Do appreciate that. Let's keep this party rolling. Remember, Charean Williams will join us coming up at 3:30. But let's go out to the north, talk to our guy Vince. Vince, welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Q, how you doing, man? How's hot ass Houston?
It's good, man. It is. I'm telling you, as soon as I left the airport last night, I looked around and I was like, why am I sweating? And I've been outside for about 10 seconds. It was ridiculous, but here we are.
Like a sauna out there, huh?
Mm-hmm.
I just want to piggyback on what you've been what you've been speaking on. I think us playing Houston in these practices and eventually in the preseason game, we couldn't ask for a better opportunity. This is the ultimate measuring stick for our team to see how this season might get us a small glimpse of where this season might go or where we at as far as a team to be successful. But I'm gonna make a prediction, Q. I think when the joint practices start, and I'm gonna predict that Kirk Cousins, this is where he's gonna separate the gap from him and Mendoza. simply because this is where that veteran leadership comes in. This is where that experience comes in. And then I'm also I want to pay attention to where Clint Kubiak is going to calibrate. Like to go against a defense like that. I'm going to be very, very, very curious on how Clint Kubiak's going to operate this offense. I know it's going to be vanilla. I don't know how deep they are going to be in the playbook, but I'll be loving to see what Clint Kubiak does and how he approaches a defense like that, because that defense is legit. That is a Super Bowl defense. But and I think a defense like that, I think any rookie is going to struggle because, Mendoza, like it'll be the ultimate test for him. But then I think a defense like that is just going to make any rookie crumble. But if Mendoza manages to, keep a level head, stay on top and play well, play decent, hey, that's house money. We good. But I think this is where the veteranship, the leadership, this is where Kirk Cousins kind of separates the gap. He kind of pushes ahead. I know everybody wants Mendoza out there, but I think this is where this is why we got Kirk Cousins. This is where he shows his true colors. Thanks for everything. Thank you.
Hey, man, great call. And that very well could end up being the case, right? Because, again, this is a very, very good defense, veteran defense, not a defense that's just being put together. Like, I forget who it is who always calls. I want to say maybe it's Sir Whiskey Ray, where he always texts in and says how much he wants a top-notch defense. I want to say it's Sir Whiskey Ray, but I'm not 100% sure. If it's not, I apologize. But this is something that the Raiders are going to try to build, right? They're looking at what the Texans have, and they want to build something like that, something similar to that, having a nasty defense that they can lean on like that. That's not where the Raiders are right now because there's so much new. Right? You have new guys on the defensive line. You have new guys in the linebacker room. You have a whole brand new secondary. You have a new defensive coordinator. You have different position coaches. They're trying to get where the Texans already are. So this defense is not one that all of a sudden the first day of training camp, they're looking around at each other trying to figure out what they're supposed to be doing. Right? This isn't all of a sudden day one install and this is stuff they haven't seen. This is all stuff they're very familiar with. At some point, and every team, I say the Raiders want to get there. Every team wants to end up having a defense like that. Not every team is built like that. And when you have a defensive-minded head coach like you do in DeMeco Ryans, it's not a surprise that the defense is as good as it is, right? That's how he buttered his bread, was by way of the defense. So them having that strong defense is not a surprise. But you want to talk about a test, that'll let your offense, really to kind of flex their muscles. And if they're able to, then they got to feel really good about themselves. But with the way that Houston may attack the Raiders, to Vince's point, Kirk Cousins may be able to handle it because he's been there, done that, and he's seen a lot, as opposed to Fernando Mendoza, where stuff that they're going to throw at him, he'll probably see for the first time. And that all of a sudden might solidify Kirk Cousins as, he's the guy who's ready right now. And Fernando will be ready sooner rather than later. That could end up being one of the deciding factors. And, I'm also intrigued of what, it's going to look like on Thursday. This joint practice will be one thing, but what is it going to look like on Thursday in the game as well? Will they not throw as much at them because they had a lot in joint practice, or will they treat it as a somewhat of a dress rehearsal? That's obviously TBD, still to be determined. But really good point that you bring up, Vince. I do appreciate that call. Really good stuff. As a matter of fact, keep that feedback coming to 702-365-9200. What do you believe would be the most beneficial part of the joint practice with the Texans coming up on tomorrow? Matter of fact, John McClain has already texted me, let me know he's going to roll by the crib, pick me up in the morning, so we are good to go. We're in the building. Of course, John McClain will be on the show as well tomorrow. But coming up next, we'll talk to the other Hall of Famer, Charean Williams. Fantastic job, pro football talk. She knows the NFL like a glove. We'll get into everything about this joint practice and scattershoot all things NFL. We'll do it next with Charean here on RaiderNation Radio 920.
That never really got going until training camp started. It always felt like, just from talking to people in the organization, it was going to be a when it was going to happen, not an if. And now he's going to be coming out here today. Probably won't do anything tomorrow in practice, obviously against the Saints. But he's a guy that the Cowboys really need to help their pass rush, for sure.
You're listening to Unnecessary Roughness with your boy Q. Brought to you by Meineke, doing car care right.
Todd Archer right there from ESPN talking about Von Miller being added to the Cowboys and how that's going to help their pass rush. And obviously that's something that Jerry Jones has alluded to since training camp opened up, really trying to add to that defense and add to that pass rush in particular to try to help the Cowboys go where they need to go. Obviously, they have a great offense. Defense, not so much. It's Unnecessary Roughness, RaiderNation Radio 920. Join us now to talk all things NFL, including the addition of Von Miller to the Cowboys, is the great Charean Williams, the Hall of Famer from Pro Football Talk. And Charean, thanks so much for your time. Appreciate you. It's always great to catch up with you. How big of an addition, in your opinion, is that Von Miller to that Cowboys defense?
Well, the Cowboys have improved their defense. There's no question about that. The personnel's better. The defensive coordinator is better, we think. Christian Parker, he's never been a defensive coordinator. But by all accounts, what he's done so far, he's going to be better and have better personnel to work with. However, having said all that, what they lack, having traded Micah Parsons a year ago, is edge rushers with juice who've proved it, who've shown they can get to the quarterback. Their top sack guy last year was Jadeveon Clowney, who's now in Houston. They didn't re-sign him, so they needed help at that position. And he played, 37%, I think, of the snaps last season in Washington and ended up with 9 sacks, which was his most since 2021 when he had 9.5. So he played pretty good for the Commanders last season. He showed that if he can stay healthy, which he did, he played all 17 games, that he can still be a force in the NFL. He still knows how to get after the quarterback. At some point, these guys all hit the wall at their ages, and he's 37. Will turn 38 next March. So, he's up there. But if they can get, 30% of the snaps with him, all these passing downs, get him in the rotation, he may very well lead them in sacks. And I just think he's what they needed from a veteran standpoint to show those guys how it's done. He runs the sack camp every year. Show those guys how it's done in meetings and practice and games and everything else. I think he can really help those young guys that the Cowboys have.
How much has it benefited this Cowboys team that it's been so quiet around them this offseason, where normally something's going on, but this year it's been a lot of quiet?
Yeah, not much drama for them, which is unusual. Now, they made a big deal about Super Bowl, Super Bowl, Super Bowl. We think we can win the Super Bowl, Super Bowl, Super Bowl. And they need to shut up. I mean, we're into training camp, preseason football, about to hit the season. And at some point, you shut up about the Super Bowl. It's coach speak, but it is a day at a time. It is a process. And you need to get better today to be good if you think you're going to get to the Super Bowl by the postseason. And talking about it is not going to get it done. And, they're talking about the greatest offense there is, and, Dak showed up to training camp wearing a Super Bowl 30 championship shirt, which was the last time the Cowboys won the Super Bowl in 1995. So they need to stop talking, and they need to go get to work and prove it on the field, something they haven't done the last 2 seasons where they didn't make the postseason.
Charean Williams is with us here at RaiderNation Radio 920. And let's say roughness. I'm here in Houston right now. The Raiders are going to take on the Texans tomorrow in a joint practice, then a preseason game on Thursday. But Charean, how beneficial are these joint practices, even to the point of coaches preferring them over the preseason games?
Yeah, they really do. They enjoy the joint practices. You obviously see more fights in the joint practices than what we see in the preseason games. But they do get a lot out of it. It is beneficial. They don't game plan, but they just go out and practice against another team. And I think it's good, and the coaches love it. And so I think you're going to see more and more of these, especially if they cut back to 2 preseason games, which they will when they go to 18 games, whenever that is. We know it's coming probably sooner than later. But I think you'll see a lot more of these joint practices when that happens. And they're fun to watch. I mean, I think we all enjoy them. If you go out and watch a joint practice, I definitely think you enjoy watching. It's much better than watching just a plain old practice that you do on a daily basis. If you're a beat writer out there, the joint practices are much more enjoyable.
It's funny when you mentioned Jadeveon Clowney is re-signed with the Texans. I forgot about that. That's just another dude to add to that D'Amico Ryan's defense. I mean, how good is this Texans defense in your opinion?
I think they can be historical. I think they can be one of the best defenses in NFL history. I mean, they were close to that last year. Seahawks are going to argue they were the best defense in football, and they had one stat that they were number one in, and the Texans had the other one they were number one in. But I'll take the Texans defense. I think they were better. The Seahawks had the better offense, which is why they won the Super Bowl. If the Texans can get any kind of quarterback play, they've got a chance to do what Seattle did last year. But they're going to lean on this defense, and for good reason. I'd hate to be an offense facing this defense. As good as it is, as deep as it is, they can rotate those guys in. Again, if they stay healthy, I think we're going to be talking about this defense for a really long time. And we may be saying, boy, the Texans wasted a historical defense by not getting to the Super Bowl because their quarterback couldn't get it done. We definitely could be saying that. But either way, I think their defense is going to be that good.
What is it going to take for C.J. Stroud to get that quarterback play where it needs to be? I mean, he clearly took a step back last year. How does he snap out of that and take that next step forward?
Well, he's got to have better offensive line play, and he's got to have a better running game, two things they didn't have last season. And I think they will be better in the running game with David Montgomery. They'll be better in the red zone. They were horrendous in the red zone last year. They will be better doing that. That's going to help him. How much it's going to help him, we'll see. He's got to be a better quarterback, though. He's also getting Tank Dell back. I think his receivers are better than what they were. This is it, though. It's a huge year for him, contract-wise, to either and probably, whether he's going to stay in Houston or not. So his future really depends on this season. He knows that. Texans know that. Everybody knows that. It's not some kind of secret. So he's got a lot on the line this season. And the Texans are more than likely going to be back in the postseason. And is he going to take that next step in the postseason, or is he going to do what he did last year and turn the ball over and not give him a chance?
Charean Williams from Pro Football Talk is with us here on RaiderNation Radio 920. Clint Kubiak is now the head coach of the Raiders. Obviously, you're very familiar with the Kubiak family. What are your expectations for Clint, who helped the Seahawks win the Super Bowl with that offense that you mentioned, but now being the head coach of the Raiders?
I like a lot of the Raiders' talent. I said that at the Combine at a dinner we had. I was kind of shouted down, like, what are you talking about? But they've got some really good talent to build around. I love the quarterback, Fernando Mendoza. I think he will start at some point. I know they don't want to start him at the beginning of the season, and that's fine. You don't want to get the kid killed like, the Texans did with David Carr, and we've seen it with some other quarterbacks. So I think it's good that he'll start the season on the bench. But at some point he's got to play, and I'm sure he will play, and they'll start building for the future. I love Kubiak. I think he's going to be very good. I think they got one of the better coaches that was hired in this hiring cycle. I think they're going to be very good in a short period of time. It's not going to be this year, but 2 years from now, I think they're going to be very good, and I think they're going to have a chance to contend. Hardest division in football, in my opinion, but they're going to have a chance if they hit on the quarterback, which I think they did, and if they hit on the head coach, which I think they did.
Last year, the Raiders' offensive line really struggled, and some of that was talent, some of that was coaching. Rick Dennison, you know him as well, is the offensive line coach now. He's got plenty of skins on the wall. How much will just having Rick Dennison, the guy who's been there, done that, as the offensive line coach, how much is that going to help this Raiders' offensive line in general?
I mean, I think we underplay how important an offensive line coach is in the NFL. And if you look with what the veteran Coach Callahan did for so many years as an offensive line coach. He was the best offensive line coach in the NFL for so long now. He wasn't a very good head coach, but he was so good as an offensive line coach. And if you have that offensive line coach, you can make those offensive linemen better. It just makes such a huge difference on an offensive line. So I just don't think you can overstate how important that is, and I think he will be very good, and I think that offensive line will be better because of it.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing what it looks like, and this joint practice starts tomorrow, and obviously the game's coming up on Thursday. How do you feel like coaches navigate the preseason now, where it used to be, remember the third game was the dress rehearsal, but now they only have 3 games. Is that more of the second one, or is that kind of a case-by-case, especially with these additions of the joint practices?
Well, yeah, I think different teams do it different ways. I mean, the Cowboys and Rams are 2 teams that couldn't care less about the preseason, and when you're resting your fourth wide receiver, like it really says, we don't care about the preseason, and they don't. And then there's other teams like, the Chiefs are going to play Patrick Mahomes. Tom Brady used to play almost every preseason game. You can go back and look it up. It may have been on for only a series, but he would play almost every single preseason game. Aaron Rodgers may play in the preseason. I mean, but some teams do it second game. Some teams do it third game. We saw a bunch of starters play in the first game. Now, I do think there's a limit to it. If you see what the Cardinals did with Jeremiah Love, playing him the entire first half, getting him a ton of carries, ton of touches, and now he has a high ankle sprain. So there is a point where you want to get those guys out of the game. And I said it. I was watching that Cardinals game, and I said, the Cardinals really need to get Jeremiah Love out of this game. We've seen it. We know what he can do. He's special. Get him out of the game. And they kept him in there the whole first half, which was a huge mistake as it turned out. So there is a point where you need to get these guys out of the game and get them in bubble wrap. But I think it's important that they get in there and take hits, which you don't do in a joint practice. I mean, there's a reason they play these preseason games, and it is to get that experience and get those snaps and get those hits and get some live action at the speed it's going to be in the game. So really important. But different teams handle it different ways. And, if the Cowboys and Rams get off to a slow start, I think we're in a point to, hey, why don't these guys play their starters in the preseason? But they do both have veteran quarterbacks, so that does make a difference.
Charean Williams is with us here on RaiderNation Radio 920. We'll close out with this and fantastic stuff as always. Over the weekend, saw the Browns in action and saw Deshaun Watson and Shador, and Deshaun looked pretty good for the first time in playing forever. It seemed like he had been out. What do you think about that quarterback competition? Is that Watson's job to lose? What do you think about it?
Yeah, I think it's going to be Deshaun Watson. I think he's going to start the season. And how long he lasts, is he going to stay healthy? Is he going to be good enough? Is he going to turn the ball over? What's he going to do? Another guy, you start listening to these quarterbacks who really have something to play for this season. He's another one that's at the top of that list, that he's got a lot to play for this year, for his future beyond this season. So it's a really big year for him. He's, struggled to stay healthy and had the suspension his first year in Cleveland and just hasn't played a lot of games for them. They certainly haven't gotten their money's worth out of him. But I do think he will start this season for the Browns, and then we'll see what happens, probably a week-by-week basis. I think you could see Shador in there by week 2, week 3 if, Deshaun can't get it done.
Yeah, there's some quarterback competitions going on around the league with some veteran quarterbacks that are trying to make sure that they hold down their spot. Well, fantastic stuff as always, Charean. What are you working on that we should be on the lookout for?
Oh, it's a pretty busy day. There's a lot of injuries. Breece Hall, fortunately, does not have a major injury, and so he's week to week instead of month to month. So I think that's big for folks, especially fantasy football folks, to focus on. But there's just a lot of injury news today after the preseason games over the weekend, and I think we're gearing up for week 2 of the preseason.
There you go. We're right there with you, like I said, in Houston right now. Looking forward to this joint practice tomorrow and the game coming up on Thursday, Raiders versus Texans. Charean, great stuff as always. Thanks so much for your time. We definitely appreciate you.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Great stuff right there by the Hall of Famer, Charean Williams, Pro Football Talk, just scatter shooting some NFL and, obviously talking a little Raiders as well. And she likes the talent that the Raiders have. Right, and thinks that Clint Kubiak is the right guy for the job and going to get this thing turned around. And I back her up 100% when she says that Clint Kubiak's the right guy for the job. I really do truly believe that this coach is going to be that guy that's going to get this Raiders team back where they need to be. It's not going to be overnight. I'll be the first one to tell you it's not going to be overnight, but I do believe that they are trending in the right direction and they have the right guy in place in Clint Kubiak. And, oh, by the way, the rest of the coaches that are on the staff with them as well. He's not doing it alone. We do want to hear from you at 702-365-9200. Ari, you got something for me right now, or what you got?
I sure do.
What you got?
It's for the listeners, though, not you. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh, man, I want it to be for me, man. Come on.
Sorry. Well, hey, be caller 9 right now. Whoever wants. No. Nevada residents only, for the record. Mutiny is a movie coming up with Jason Statham that is in theaters August 21st, and you get a pair of tickets that you can get right here at Lotus Broadcasting. Be caller 9, like I said, 702-365-9200. There you go. Caller 9.
Boom. There it is right there. Ari's going to send you to the movies. And, of course, we want to hear from you as well. What do you believe will be the most beneficial part of the joint practice with the Texans coming up on tomorrow? Let us know your thoughts. And try to win as Ari is hooking it up, trying to send you to the movies. We'll close out hour number 2 hearing from you. It's RaiderNation Radio 920.
If I had to say someone's going to be able to catch lightning in a bottle, I would probably just go with the Raiders. There's enough new there to where Clint Kubiak hits. You brought over Linderbaum at center. You already have a guy who's in the conversation for the best tight end in the NFL. Maybe that improves the offensive line experience and you unlock Ashton Genty. And then Fernando Mendoza. There's enough of those new parts in there where I could sell you on that.
You're listening to Unnecessary Roughness with your boy Q. Brought to you by Meineke, doing car care right.
That was Mike Golick Jr. right there on the Golicks on ESPN. It's funny, I was actually checking that out earlier today as I'm here in Houston getting ready for the Raiders and Texans joint practice coming up tomorrow. I was actually checking that out as I was preparing for the show today, and he so reluctantly said the Raiders. There was only a couple options. I think the Saints were an option. There was the Jets were an option. The Raiders were an option. I think maybe the Cardinals were one as well. Anyway, it wasn't any, big time teams that it was obvious that they were going to be that team that goes from worst to first. And so that's how that whole came about is, well, I mean, if I had to pick a team, maybe the Raiders could catch lightning in a bottle. And I think a lot of that, people say that, and just like Mike Golick Jr. said that, because of the head coach, Clint Kubiak, because of Ashton Genty, because they have the quarterback. You have a quarterback, you have an opportunity, right? That's what everyone says. So, that's the reason why. But like I said, just to try to add some context to what he was saying right there, he was very, very reluctant about picking any team to go from worst to first. And the thing about it, and I say it all the time, is if it was in the NFC South, then I could see worst to first, no problem. Because that whole division, nobody had a winning record in 2025. Like, nobody. The Carolina Panthers went to the playoffs at 8-9. The Falcons were there at 8-9. Right? The Tampa Bay Buccaneers were there at 8-9. And then the Saints came in last, and they were, 7-10? You know what I mean? It was just the division just is not very good. But with the Raiders being in the AFC West, how difficult that division is. And look, I believe this division is going to eat up on each other. Right? I think that, nobody's going to just be out there dominant. Like, I don't think the Broncos are just going to dominate the AFC West and go 6-0 or anything. That I'm sure that more teams than not are probably going to split with the division. And the Raiders very well could be that. I've said it so many times that the Raiders might not make the playoffs this season, but they might mess someone else's playoff chances up. I don't think this is going to be a team that's going to get pushed around. I don't think this is going to be a team that's going to look unprepared. And I don't think this team is just going to, every game that they're not favored to win, they're, going to lose and just call them automatic, whoever the team is playing, that's an L, right? The Raiders are going to take an L on this one. I don't think that's going to be the case. Now, again, we might come back halfway through the season and say, well, what we believed was in front of this team and how they were going to build is not working. But I just believe that the way that they're building this team, the players that they have in place, the coaches, the attention to detail, the teaching that's going on at practice each and every day, it just seems like this is how you build this team. I've seen people send out the depth chart for the second week of the preseason, and there's not too much movement and changing going on with it, just a few additions from guys that weren't there last week. And I see people online talking about, I don't trust John Spytek. I don't believe in the roster. I don't like the draft picks. I don't think that they're really that good. I really believe that this roster is better than some people are giving them credit for. Now, they have to separate themselves and show exactly what they're going to be, but you have a lot of football players in that locker room, dudes that can go in that locker room. Now it's just dependent on, that they've got to show themselves, and they'll get an opportunity tomorrow in joint practice against the Houston Texans. Hour number 3 is up next. It's RaiderNation Radio 920.
We had
had that alumni dinner when all the players came back. Me and Dave sat by each other at the same table. We had conversations for hours about football, about life, about everything. Since he played, the game of football has evolved tremendously. So he was asking tons of questions on why do you guys do this? Why do you do that? We did this back then. We did that back then, and that worked for us. So we were kind of walking through that. We were explaining to each other why we kind of do some of the things we do. But he's a great contact to have, and I'll be able to hit him up, and I know if he wants to talk, he'll be able to hit me up too.
Right now, we're doing football right on Unnecessary Roughness. Brought to you by Meineke, doing car care right.
As we kick off hour number 3 of the show, we come into the sounds of Michael Mayer before he was Big Mike, right? That was 2023. That was his rookie year, talking about his relationship with Dave Casper, the Hall of Famer, and we will be doing football right, and it will have to do with Dave Casper in a hot second here on Unnecessary Roughness on RaiderNation Radio 920. Have a little blast from the past. There'll be some good stuff that we have coming up in a couple minutes, but we do want to hear from you at 702-365-9200 as we're here in Houston getting ready for Raiders and Texans joint practice. I threw the question out there, what do you believe would be the most beneficial of this joint practice with H-Town? And right now, one of our favorite callers, Charles in Oregon, joins us here on the show. And Charles, welcome to the show. What's on your mind, my man?
Hey, what up, Q? How you doing today, man?
I'm good, man. How about you?
Hey, blessed, bro. So,
yes.
Thinking about the question, I think it's a great question. And, one of the things you had pointed out right off the bat was seeing what's going to happen in the trenches because we want to know that. And I agree with that. At the same time, the more I think about it, the first thing I think about is they're on their way to building something that they hope is not good but great. Mm-hmm. And I've said before, the first step to greatness is you have to have great self-awareness of who you are in that moment. Not the past, not the future, but where you are in the moment. And I think that going against the Texans, who have an outstanding defense and overall, really solid team, I think who it's going to benefit the most are the people who are most responsible for moving towards greatness, which is the general manager, John Spytek, and the coaching staff. We learned a little bit from that first game, right? We see it looks like Fernando's going to be good. It looks like the offensive line and some of the pieces are coming together. They know how to use Besh. They know how to use Mayer. The thing I think we're going to get out of this is we're going to have a better understanding of who we are or who they are as a team and where the holes are on the roster. I think it's going to help them to shape. I wouldn't be surprised after the practice, after this game, that they start identifying, hey, look, when you're facing great adversity against a tough team like the Texans, it's going to show you who you are and where you might be falling short in your steps towards greatness, whether that's, where are we at on the offensive line? Do we need to do something regarding the defensive backs, or do we, are we still searching for that, big-time receiver? I don't know. But I think it's going to help Spytek. I think it's going to help the coaching staff identify where are we, who are we, and where are we going with building something that's great. So that's my take. I hope that I'm really excited about it. I got to say, just hearing about the Dave Casper, I love Dave Casper. I'm excited to hear where you're going with that. That's really cool. Appreciate you taking my call, man. God bless. You guys have a great day.
All right, man, you do the same. Really good call, Charles in Oregon. Do appreciate you as always, and love your breakdowns, man. Really do, and love all the feedback that we've been receiving from Raider Nation in particular, text line and phone line, same number, 702-365-9200. But you heard Charles in Oregon mention Dave Casper, and this really caught my attention, and it caught my attention late night last night, probably around – well, I think I got in here around 12:30, whatever time it was. It was super late. Just happened to turn on the TV and always just put it on ESPN because it's just that's what it does. I just turn on ESPN and figure out whatever I might have missed, I get caught up on through travel and this, that, and the third. And there's this feature that ESPN has been doing now since Super Bowl 60 got wrapped up, because Super Bowl 61 is in L.A., it's at SoFi Stadium, and it's ESPN's Super Bowl. It's their first Super Bowl, so they're all fired up. They're all pumped up about it. They're doing all these different features. Matter of fact, I even did a show the day after the Super Bowl. Super Bowl Sunday, I did a show from midnight to 3 a.m., right, to start the path to Super Bowl 61. Like, that's how fired up they are about that. But with that being said, they have been doing this feature called I caught a touchdown in the Super Bowl, right? They've been breaking down how many Super Bowls have been played, obviously 60, how many touchdowns have been caught, and, who's doing it. So they do a feature each and every day. They've done a feature on someone else who's caught a pass or scored a touchdown, I should say, in the Super Bowl. And so last night, super late night, it was Dave Casper, and they were going all the way back to Super Bowl 11, right? Remember, they're going to Super Bowl 61, but they went all the way back to Super Bowl 11 with Dave Casper catching a touchdown pass, and I immediately thought, oh, man, that's really cool. I'm glad to see that. Let's go ahead and see if I can get that sound from it. So I thought it was really cool. I thought you would appreciate it, and like you said, little blast from the pass, and just Dave Casper is just kind of nonchalant type, even attitude towards it. All I could do is smile and laugh, just because it's almost one of those situations where he scored a touchdown. Raiders win this game. He's being asked about it, and it's almost like, yeah, what's the big deal? I scored a touchdown. That's what I do. But I could appreciate it, and I'm sure you will as well. Here it is. Check it out.
My name's David Casper. I play for the Raiders, and I scored a touchdown in the Super Bowl. When I was 12 years old, I hit a baseball one time against a guy that was 6'5" and was throwing, and that thing was that was a rock star. I hit this ball in an all-star game, a guy that nobody could hit, and I swung before he threw the ball, and he hit my bat, and I hit a home run. Now that was my greatest play of all time.
Is the Super Bowl second?
You got to also talk about the Notre Dame National Championship game of 1973.
And the clock runs out. Notre Dame, the national football champions. They have beat Alabama 24-23.
So is the Super Bowl third then, or where are we at?
No. Super Bowl was a big deal.
We are about to bring to you the 11th Super Sunday Super Bowl.
Here we go. The 11th Super Bowl is underway.
I don't remember going to the game. I don't remember warming up. I remember walking out being introduced, but I was in another world. I remember nothing about before the game. I don't remember much after the game.
First down on the 1. They've had 9 plays on this drive. They started on their own 36-yard line.
Snake just called a play action pass left. I just ran to the corner, and the guy let me run out there. And then Snake threw the ball real quick and tried to throw it over my head. I'm not the greatest jumper that ever lived.
Casper touchdown. That's their favorite play. They pulled it repeatedly during the year with a tight end going wide open, and the Raiders marched 64 yards for a score.
What was that like?
I was relieved I didn't drop it.
Good play action in the middle, Kurt. That ball, it looked like a running play in there. Hits this man, usually a linebacker, comes out to the outside. Nobody was there.
I'm just trying to play a football game. I lined up, I got down, I did what they told me to do, and I went out on the field, and you do what you're told to do. As silly as this sounds, it was the result of a bunch of other guys doing a lot of things. And to sit there and take credit for catching a 1-yard pass, I don't take a lot of credit for that. I more just be thankful that I was allowed to do it.
There you go. Dave Casper. He caught a touchdown pass, Super Bowl 11. And now you understand what I was saying when it comes to the so nonchalant. And, yeah, I did what I was supposed to do. It was a 1-yard pass. I almost didn't catch it. It was so funny kind of watching the replay and them going over it and him having to jump and him saying he doesn't jump that high and all that. There's a snake tried to overthrow me. Like, it was really cool to hear that. And so hopefully you appreciated that like I did. And I thought at first, I was like, well, maybe I'm just delirious because it was super late and I was getting in from traveling. And then I listened back to it and I was like, nah, you know what? That was pretty stinking cool. So let's go ahead and bring that to the table. That's how we will do football right.
Doing football right on Unnecessary Roughness. Brought to you by Meineke. Doing car care right.
Let's keep on doing football right by hearing from you at 702-365-9200. Let's go out to Sacramento, talk to our guy, Raider Greg. Raider Greg, welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Q, my brother, thank you for taking my call. Shout out to you and ours as always. I hope all is well, my friend. How are you?
I'm great, man. I'm great. I'm here in H-Town, man. I'm doing good.
Almost back in your old stomping grounds, huh, Q?
Exactly. Almost.
Yeah, almost there. Say hello to the general for me. When it comes to who's going to be the most beneficial, I think it's really one answer. It's the offensive line and the offense. For me, when I'm looking at it, I believe the Texans came in around number 1 or 2 in the total defense last year. I believe they're top 5 in rushing defense, and we already know what those defensive ends, Anderson and the team do. And they also have one of the top groups in defensive backs. I don't believe C.J. Gardner-Johnson is there anymore. No. I think they added him, but they do have Petrie. They do have Stingley there. So for me, it's the offensive line and the wide receivers. Being that they got a good DB core, I really want to see if these wide receivers, because I've been hearing good things about Jalen Naylor. Now, I didn't really see it in the preseason game, but I know it's the first one. It was very vanilla. So I really want to see, even listening to other guys talk about Jalen Naylor, about his route running and, just being so crisp and getting open and kind of being that middle field dominator. I'm really looking to see and seeing if Jack Bech can stack days when it comes to the wide receiver. So I'm really looking to see that battle. And then obviously the offensive line. I mean, you're going against the Texans. The Raiders are not going to see a better defensive line this year in the NFL when they play in the regular season. So I'm really looking forward to seeing, and just like all of us are kind of like, hey, is it going to be DJ Glaze? Is it going to be JBJ, Grant? We really don't know. The Texans have that same information. So I think that we'll really see who's going to land in that positions with these battles. Will Anderson got just super fired up to watch those videos, hear from you guys that are covering it. I really want to see how the wide receiver do. It could be huge for them. See if we'll be able to this season and huge offensive line. So super juiced to see that. You ask for against.
All right, and we almost had you. I thought we were going to be able to hold on, but just kind of cut off there at the end. But I get what you're saying. I get where you're going with that. And yeah, the Texans were up there, just like Charean Williams said. I mean, they were one of the all-time great defenses. I mean, they were fantastic in every stat last year defensively. It was them and Seattle going back and forth, but they were so stinking good that they're definitely going to put some stress and some strain on the Raiders tomorrow. And like I say, you start to learn a little bit about this team coming up when they go in that joint practice. And, of course, we'll be here to cover all of that, bring it back to you. And I think Jack Bech is the guy that I'm supposed to talk to following practice tomorrow, so I look forward to that. I know I'll see the general bright and early in the morning around 7 o'clock Central Time. I'll see him. So, we'll have some really good stuff to bring back to the show coming up on tomorrow. Thanks so much for the call. Definitely appreciate you. We do want to keep that feedback coming at 702-365-9200. You could also hit us up on Twitter at Ari Produces, at RNR 920 AM, at your boy Q254, just like Mike did. Mike said, Q, I'm hearing a lot of criticism of how Crawford played versus Arizona. He missed some plays and looked lost at times, but as your boy Mel Kiper says, he's a LTP, or looks the part. Love his tools and aggression. I think his future is bright. That's from our guy Mike. Definitely appreciate that. And, yeah, I mean, that was – he definitely missed. He missed on some. He had, the quarterback dead to rights in the backfield, looked like a couple times, and, just over-pursued. But he does have the raw skill set. He does have the speed. He does have what I believe is enough strength, obviously. He's a guy that did some good things at Auburn last year, even though Auburn's defense wasn't very good. So as long as he learns how to, to finish, right? I mean, we've seen that before in the past. We've seen players that were close, right? Remember Arden Key, even at times Cleve Farrell, right? They were close. They got into the backfield. They were making plays, but then they didn't finish. He's just going to have to learn that skill set of finishing. The good thing for him is he's got a guy like Max Crosby that he can learn from. Matter of fact, Keyron Crawford was one of the guys that spoke to the media following practice today, and so I know Brandy tweeted out some stuff that he had to say, and, of course, you can always go back and check out all the sound from the Raiders pressers and all that good stuff. We have it all the time, lvsportsnetwork.com. Of course, the Raiders have it on Raiders.com as well. But he is a guy that is very intriguing because he does have exactly what Mike said. He has the skill set. He has the raw ability. He's just got to put it all together. Again, him being a rookie, and that's the thing with this team. This team has a lot of rookies. This team has a lot of young dudes, second-year guys like Darian Porter, right? Guys that are still trying to find themselves. Hell, third-year guys. Hell, some fourth-year guys that we still look at as young, like a Michael Mayer, right? I mean, he still hasn't really established himself in the NFL. Trey Tucker started to establish himself last year, right? We mentioned JPJ. We've mentioned other guys that, Darian Porter, second-year dude, right? Jack Besh, Dante Thornton. Actually, I saw a text earlier I meant to mention about Dante Thornton. Right here from the 408. It says Dante Thornton is facing the same challenge as JPJ. At some point, they need to consistently be on the field to show everyone, including themselves, that they deserve those reps. Can't make the club in the tub, right? And Dante Thornton, who was out there at practice today but didn't practice, to me, he's just losing valuable reps. As much as we talk about JPJ and availability, Dante Thornton Jr. is in the same boat. There's no doubt. Especially when you have a guy like Malik Benson that's turning heads and getting a lot of attention. You need to be out there. You need to be solidifying your spot. You're absolutely right. Lincoln says it all the time. He says it perfectly. You cannot make the club in the tub. There's certain guys that are so good that they don't have to worry about being out there. If Brock Bowers misses some practices, no problem. If Max Crosby misses some practices, no problem. There's not too many more of those guys on the Raiders, right? I mean, obviously there's a few of those dudes across the league, but there's not too many more of those dudes on the Raiders that can just miss a bunch of practices and they'll be fine. Dante Thornton Jr. is getting himself in a tough situation. I know Clint Kubiak said he expects him back sooner rather than later, which is a good thing, especially at that wide receiver position where you're trying to put all these guys out there and see what they can do. There's competition there. It's a questionable position for him as well. Many have said that the talent in the room is not even good enough. Well, you can't prove the talent in the room is good enough if the talent's not out there on the field. And I hate to make it sound like I'm trying to be harsh. Oh, well, you're injured, so you're done. Like, I'm not trying to say that. I'm not trying to sound that way. But the reality is, in the National Football League, it's what have you done for me lately? It's are you available? Can you play right now? Oh, you can't? Okay, well, then we move on. That's just what happens. That's the nature of the beast. The NFL stands for not for long for a reason. Because you're in there 1 minute, and then, boom, you're out. Just this time last year, who was one of the biggest names that we were talking about this time last year? Dante Thornton Jr., right? I mean, was he not the guy that we were talking about? Spent a lot of time talking about, man, this guy's going to be featured early and often. Just like we're talking about Malik Benson. And then it went away pretty quickly. He was featured in the first game against New England, tried to be featured a few more times throughout the course of the year, and then it was over. It was over before it got started. That's just how quickly things can turn. And that's the nature of the beast when it comes to the National Football League. That's why it's amazing when these guys have these super long careers. It's like, how did you do that? It's just so rare. These guys just don't traditionally have long careers. Dante Thornton Jr. played in 15 games, last year. Had 10 catches on 30 targets, 135 yards. I mean, even as much as we say Jack Besh didn't get much burn, and he didn't get enough. That was bad that neither one of those guys got enough burn. I mean, he was available, played in 16 games, but only had 20 catches, 224 yards. 11 of those things were first downs, though, which is I want to see if he can continue to build off of what he did on Thursday and build off what he did his rookie year. I mean, if you only have 20 catches, but 11 of them go for – more than half of them go for first downs, that's not a bad thing. That's the kind of position and kind of role I see Jack Besh playing with this team. If he can keep building off that, that is definitely worthy of a roster spot and could be very productive, especially in this Clint Kubiak-led offense. Dave hit us up and said, thanks, Q. Love the Casper segment. That's one of my favorite players. Awesome. Appreciate that. Central Coast Raider says, Senor Q, I'm excited to see how the offensive line holds up, how fast Mendoza processes if he gets reps with the ones, and if Bowers and Myers can get open, or Mayer. If Bowers and Mayer can get open versus man coverage. You learn more in one quarter versus Houston than 2 weeks of camp. Also, defense is going to get a stress test against that Houston offense. This is where we not it's we gets real. No, this is where we, not I, it's we gets real. Okay, I got you. Tomorrow we'll very likely tell a lot to coaches who's still competing for a roster spot. Go Raiders. Every once in a while, you got to forgive me. Every once in a while, our text line gets a little sideways. So it's not you, it's me, right? And it's not even me, it's it. But I'll take responsibility for it. But, yeah, I mean, Bowers, Michael Mayer, if that 1-2 punch can happen and develop, I'm really interested to see how this offense is going to look with Big Mike involved. He's just like Jack Besh, the guy that we talked about on Friday in great detail. I was very excited to see them both have success in that game on Thursday because we know what Michael Mayer did at Notre Dame. We know what we said about Michael Mayer when he got drafted in the second round when the Raiders traded up to go get him. And it just hasn't come to fruition, but the talent is there. The want to is there. This is a dude who really, he's out at practice busting his backside. He's doing everything he can to help this team out. No matter what they ask him to do, he's out there doing it. I really would love to see this team lean into this 12 personnel, 13 personnel. I saw Ian Thomas over the weekend, right? He's a guy that he's not going to catch very many passes, but he's such a important part of this offense when it comes to blocking. There's a reason why Ian Thomas has been around the league as long as he has. What's he going on, year 8, year 9? What is it? He's been around for a minute. And especially for a guy that's not catching volume passes, but the role he plays is a valuable role. Yeah, he was a 4th-round pick back in 2018. Think about that. 4th-round pick in 2018 by Carolina, and he's still cooking. It's 2026. And you're talking about a guy who had 13 catches for 114 yards last year. But what he does is so much more important, getting in there doing the dirty work. All the blocking. You got to be a willing blocker, and especially in this Clint Kubiak-led offense. Would love to see this team lean into the 12 and 13 personnel, like we've heard about and talked about for so many years. 702-365-9200. Keep that feedback coming. Text line and phone line. Let's go out to the phone line real quick and talk to our guy, Raider Mike. Raider Mike, welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
What's up, Q? How you doing, brother?
Good, man. How are you?
I'm good to go. What's up, Ari? I had to call in once I heard the Casper sound bites. Dude, I was 11 years old, and I went through all those other AFC championships, the Steelers and the Dolphins, whoever was on our way. And we finally punched through. And I saw the Ghosts in the Post live. I saw Superbowl 11 live, and that touchdown of Casper's, I don't know why he doesn't brag more about that. That was not an easy catch.
Right.
And it crushed me when Al traded him to Houston, man. He's one of the Casper the Ghost, and he's one of my favorite Raiders ever. He was amazing. He's in the Hall of Fame, like many Raiders are. And a few should be, like Plunkett and Lester and Greg Townsend. I mean, we're just getting jobbed on that end. I get so frustrated when it comes to that stuff. But anyway, that's one of the best memories of my life because we finally broke through, and I finally got to not catch any crap for being the only Raider in school. Everyone else had Steelers, Vikings, and Dolphins jackets. A couple Rams here and there, but I was the only Raider. So puffing my chest out that January for sure. What was the question? I just got off work. I just heard
nice.
Casper
Yeah, no,
segment.
not mad at that at all. Who do you believe, or what do you believe will be the most beneficial part of the joint practice with the Texans that starts tomorrow?
Oh, easily. That's easy. See how our offensive line holds up against that defensive line of theirs. That they're psychotic. They are. That is a psychotic defensive line. That whole defense reminds me of the 83 Raiders or the 76 Raiders defense. I mean, it's that good. So if they hold up and Ashton breaks a couple off, has a good game, and I think Mike Washington's going to have another good game. I think Mike Washington, like we talked about with Jeremy, last week, he's going to be, I think, one of the steals of the draft. Both of them in the 4th round, Jamad McCoy and him. That's what Al used to do. There's those late round guys he would find just these gems. And Mike watched him. By the end of the year, I think people will say, why wasn't that guy a first-round pick? I think he's going to be that good. And to be able to bring those two, because they're very different running backs, him and Ashton Genty. And that'll really throw defenses off. They won't know what to do with us, especially if our line is blocking well. And I'm just so excited about this season. I think we are going to pop. I don't know if we'll make the playoffs, but we're not going to suck. I know that. Right. So, anyway, love the show, Q. Later, Ari. Raiders! I'm out, bro.
There he goes. Raider Mike, appreciate the call. And, yeah, that's the thing. I think this is going to be a very competitive team this year. I don't know what that means as far as wins and losses. I wish I could be that guy to just predict that, hey, this is what's going to happen, and boom, there it is. I'd give you the answers to the test already, but I obviously can't. But I do believe this team is going to be very competitive. I don't think you're going to see them get ran out the gym. I don't think you're going to see them just lay down and look like a doormat like we've seen this team before. I just feel like that they'll be much better prepared. They'll be ready to go. They'll be locked in. And, obviously the other team has something to say about it as well. And they're gonna make life difficult, and their schedule's tough as well. But yeah, I think it's gonna be in line to have a very, very competitive season, and we'll obviously see how it all plays out. But you'll definitely learn a lot about this team, especially the offensive line going up against those dudes, as Raider Mike just said. That Texans defense is psychotic. I love it. I think that was a great description right there. Thanks so much for the call. Appreciate you. Rob in Oakland hits on the text line and said, in general, I think the coach-controlled environment and situational football reps are the most valuable feature of joint practices. In this specific case, the Texans usually run a 4-2-5 defense and a wide 9 front, a different look from our offense. Will Anderson Jr. and Daniil Hunter will strain our tackles with athleticism and technique. Brock should get a chance to test himself against Stingley Jr. and Bullock, better preparing him for when Denver covers them with Surtain. This is minor, but Stooks and JPJ have minimal experience playing in that kind of heat and humidity, and it'll be a lesson in hydration if JPJ can go. As an aside, I'm really hoping for no brawls and no injuries. It's Rob in Oakland. Yeah, I'm with you. The brawls, I mean, I have a feeling that there'll be a dust-up or two, but if it gets out of control and then practice gets stopped in multiple times or just canceled completely, there was that year where the Raiders and Rams, they just couldn't even be on the field together, and they had to call practice. That does no good for anybody. So that's like a wasted trip. So you want to make sure that they're able to put in the work, because that's how both teams are going to get better, and that's the ultimate goal. So the only reason they're having these joint practices is not so they can have fun in the playground and say, oh, hey, we did this on this Tuesday. No, it's about getting better and putting the work in against another team's number ones and teams number twos going up against another team's number twos. Again, I go back to what, the look on Adam Butler's face yesterday when we talked to him over at the Raider facility, had a big smile on his face knowing that they were about to make this trip to Houston to take on the Texans in this joint practice. I mean, you could tell that he was fired up about that. One more quick text. This one's from Central Coast Raider Q. Listen to what Casper said about I was just doing what I was told to do. Reminds me of what we always say, just do your job. If everyone would do that, we'd be in the Super Bowl. There you go. Central Coast Raider going back to what Dave Casper said. And, yeah, it's funny that he was so nonchalant and wasn't trying to brag about the touchdown that he caught in the Super Bowl. It was like, I just did my job. It's a 1-yard pass, right? I'm just glad I didn't drop it. I was there doing my job. It's a great point that you bring up, Central Coast Raider. Thanks so much for that. Appreciate it. We do want to hear from you at 702-365-9200. Ari, I know you got some winning on the way, so what do you have?
I sure do. I've got a pair of tickets to see the UNLV Rebels football versus Memphis at Allegiant Stadium. That is on the 29th, Saturday of August. Wow. 29th of August, that's a Saturday. That's how you say that. They will be in-house, the tickets, so yes, you absolutely do need to be a Nevada resident. Give me a call right now, 702-365-9200. Caller 9 gets the pair of tickets.
Boom, there it is right there. Ari's got winning. We'll hear from you, and we've got to flush it. That's all on the way here on RaiderNation Radio 920.
It's time to flush it on Unnecessary Roughness. Brought to you by Moonlight Plumbing.
Check them out, moonlightplumbing.vegas. They make this flushing possible here on Unnecessary Roughness on RaiderNation Radio 920. And I never know where the flushing is going to come from. Again, just randomly going through some things or watching some games or seeing some different action and realize, okay, this is something that needs to be flushed. So today's flushing of the performance comes from Major League Baseball, in particular the Orioles and Rays game on Sunday. And it's really the Rays would like to flush what the Orioles did in the top of the sixth. Going into the inning, the Orioles led 3-1, and the Orioles would go on to win this one 10-2. So, as I mentioned, the top of the sixth, this is when the floodgates literally opened up, and Tampa Bay, well, they never stood a chance after this. So, again, remember, it's 3-1, top of the sixth. This is exactly what happens. This is play-by-play what happens. Encarnacion Strand lines out to third. That's 1 out. Bevers grounds out to shortstop. That's 2 outs. Taveras single to right. Cowser homers to right. So now all of a sudden the score is 5-1. Mayo single to center. Pozo walk. Mayo to second. Holiday doubled to center. Pozo scored. Mayer scored. Tampa Bay challenges. Call on the field was upheld. Now you're looking up, and the score was 3-1. Now it's 7-1. Then now there's going to be a pitching change. So the new pitcher comes in and walks Alonso. Henderson walks. Alonso goes to second. Holiday to third. Tampa Bay, they challenged that one. Guess what? Call on the field was upheld. And then Encarnacion comes up again. Second time in the inning, he doubles the left. Henderson scores, Holiday scores, and Alonso scores. And then Bevers struck out, so he actually got out twice in the same inning. All the damage that was done at the top of the sixth came with 2 outs. Have you ever watched a game where you're sitting there and they got 2 outs and all of a sudden they just can't get that last out? That's exactly what Tampa Bay was thinking on Sunday. Top of the sixth, 2 outs. They're only down 2 runs, and then all hell breaks loose. And they end up allowing all these runs to score. 7 runs scored in the top of the sixth, all with 2 outs. And, of course, like I said, they end up losing this game ultimately 10-2, but it was done. It was game, set, match after the top of the sixth. So that is something that, and in baseball, I say it all the time, baseball, you're able to flush these type of things really quickly because you have another game immediately. So the good thing is they get right back onto the diamond and don't have to worry about it. But, man, that's got to be the worst feeling ever when you just can't get off the field. You just can't get that final stinking out, and Tampa Bay was not able to do that versus the Baltimore Orioles on Sunday. So that flushing, again, brought to you by Moonlight Plumbing, moonlightplumbing.vegas. From sun up till moonlight, affordable, dependable plumbing. Professionals serving Las Vegas since 2016. They mean business. And there's no problem that's too big or too small. For Moonlight, their services range from residential leaky faucet repair, water heater replacement, to commercial plumbing system installs, and full remodels. You want to give them a call, you can, 702-355-3938. But as I tell you all the time, the best way to get a hold of them, moonlightplumbing.vegas. They are military and first responders discounts are available. They are veteran-owned and operated, so we always do say thank you for your service. And like I said, anytime they provide a military and first responder discount, that is awesome as well. Moonlightplumbing.vegas. That's moonlightplumbing.vegas.
Flush It is brought to you by Moonlight Plumbing. Affordable, dependable plumbing professionals serving Las Vegas since 2016. We mean business.
And you know we mean business around here on Unnecessary Roughness on RaiderNation Radio 920. We want to keep on rolling with business at 702-365-9200, talking about the joint practice with the Houston Texans. That'll be going pretty stinking early in the morning. As a matter of fact, the General, John McClain, just texted me and said, I'll see you bright and early in the morning. I'll be there to pick you up at 7. So there you go. Me and the General will link up at 7 a.m. That's Central Time. So all the fine folks, including Ari on the West, that'll be 5 a.m. Pacific Time. I'll tell you, I'm worthless. I'm so spoiled being on the West Coast. I am worthless now in a different time zone. I am so worthless. Man, whenever I go anywhere where I'm going to the Eastern Time Zone, even Central Time Zone, just knowing, like this show, it's 6:30 right now. It's 6:30 here, in Houston, and got the other show to do tonight, and so that'll get wrapped up at midnight Central Time. then knock out the podcast. That'll be done around 2 a.m., 3 a.m., and then, boom, the General's here picking me up at 7 a.m. So it's just like going to the Combine. That's the other one that gets me all the time because it's super late at the Combine, and then, boom, got to be there super early for all the activities that go on. And, man, those always do me in. The good thing is that it's not February and it's not Indianapolis and freezing. Yeah. At least here in H-Town, the weather is really nice. It's actually hot.
I was going to say, that's not what Kirk said.
Well, no, I mean, look, I'd rather deal with the hot, sweaty conditions that we're dealing with now as opposed to freezing my backside off there in Indianapolis, man.
Right.
Indy is cold.
Or any snow of any kind that's going to stop your travel or stunt your travel, yeah.
Right, exactly. Trust and believe, man. I'll take this every day of the week and twice on Sunday. I think I got one pair of pants I brought on this trip with me. You know what I mean? Like, I'd much rather that than have to worry about these big old jackets and beanie caps and all these gloves and everything else that I had to vest that I had last time. Man, it was super cold at the Scotting Combine, but we survived that, so we'll survive this too. And again, it's a blessing to have an opportunity to be anywhere on the road and be able to provide the kind of coverage that we can here on RaiderNation Radio 920. So, again, we do want to hear from you at 702-365-9200. What do you believe will be the most beneficial part of the joint practices with the Texans? That starts up tomorrow, and the game is coming up on Thursday. Let's go out to the phone lines, talk to the guy, the money man, Money Mitch. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Q, Ari, hope you guys had a nice weekend. I'm percolating here. I love your show.
You say you're percolating?
I'm percolating. There's so many things I want to say because you add things. First,
the percolator. You are the percolator.
Does that plumbing company, do they make house calls? I'm just joking.
Of course they do.
I'm kidding on that. If I was president, and it can't be any worse, because I shouldn't start talk politics, I would just have one time zone because I still can't get this done. I'm listening to my one of my favorite stations, and you're up there too. This new station in LA, 97.1. And one of the guys, he decided to go to Hawaii. I'm glad you didn't go. He's in Hawaii today, and he's in the middle. He was reporting at 5 in the morning. It's only 5 hours earlier than California. It just gets me. It's 8 hours. I can't stand it. He's dark. They have an interview him, and he's in the middle. He goes there the day before the hurricane. Hawaii's getting, I forgot what island. Hawaii's getting hit by a hurricane, I believe, or a typhoon.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that was
It happens.
It's crazy with it. So he's lucky he wasn't flying while they'd be scared. The pilots will avoid the hurricane, I would hope, right? They have the instruments, right?
Hey, man, I would hope so. That's above my pay grade, brother. We all we could do is hope that everyone's good, man. Hope and pray that everyone's healthy and safe.
Yeah, it was dark when they were interviewing the guy. And what you really should have been in the flesh today was so sad what happened to the actress Hayden. That was very sad. That was terrible for all his life. 36. I don't think it was a natural cause. Well, I feel sorry for her family, too. Mom, dad, and 11-year-old daughter. Let me get on to what I really call for, right?
There you go.
I told you. I think should be one preseason game. These practices, all right, it'll help us see what the offense line is and see what we have with our young wide receivers and young defensive linemen, too. I'm very interested in the freshmen and sophomores. You're right. 2 weeks, 12 days to USC. Q, thanks for indulging me. Thanks for taking my call. I love your show. Love you guys.
I appreciate you. Hey, he said he loved the show, loves us, Ari, but we weren't his number one show. He said, yeah, you guys are up there, but you're not at the top. See?
It's good. We have room to grow then. There's always good to know.
That's not acceptable. That's not acceptable at all.
Mitch, you're one of our favorites. It's almost our favorite, but not quite.
This guy going to call and talk about I was listening to my favorite show. I mean, and you're not talking about us? What are we doing here? Like, at least lie to me, right? Act like you're the lady at the club that I'm the greatest dude ever.
There's no one better.
There's nobody better than you as long as you got a few of them dollar bills in your hand. You know what I mean?
I don't think about any of these other shows ever.
Right.
Even when you're not on, I'm not calling other shows.
Jeez, come on, Money Mitch. Take care of us, man. Lie to us. Just tell us. Hey, man, you guys are the greatest thing ever. And then you go and tell the other guys after that. That's all right. Just as you say, what do you say? Indulge us while we're here. You know, don't tell me you're second best or third. That's just the first or second loser.
That's right.
Jeez, what are we doing? Appreciate the call, though. I do appreciate the call. Always appreciate all the calls. Good, bad, or indifferent. It's all good. 702-365-9200. Snake Man also hit us up. They said, on another note, what does this nose tackle battle look like? Does Fakatasi look the part? I don't know. I've only seen him one day. I only saw him on Sunday, and I didn't get a chance to see him today. You want to talk about, nose tackle or defensive tackle and that defensive line in general? I mean, we'll start to see something tomorrow. That'll be good to see that as well. I know the Texans' offensive line isn't dominant like their defensive line, but it's going to be good for the trenches. It's going to be good for the team in general, to be honest, with these guys going up against another team, but getting these one-on-one drills and being able to get these, the kind of reps that they really want will probably be more valuable than even the game coming up on Thursday. But yeah, we'll get a better look at the latest defensive tackle that the Raiders brought in, and then they released Brennan Jackson, and I felt bad for Brennan only because he's been injured a lot. I mean, it's funny, we've spent a lot of time talking today about injuries, but they brought in Foley Fatukasi, and then they released Brennan Jackson, put him on the reserve injured list, and that I remember when they acquired him from the Rams. That was his big deal. I said, man, that guy has a motor that just doesn't stop as long as he stays healthy. And he just hasn't been available. He just hasn't been healthy. And so, I mean, as much as people don't want to hear it and get tired of talking about availability, this, that, and the third, that's what this league is all about. If you're not available, it doesn't matter how much talent you have, they will find someone else. And so, unfortunately for Brennan Jackson, they moved on, put him on the reserve injured list. So we'll see. We'll see what happens with him later, but we'll get a good look at Fatukasi coming up tomorrow in the Raiders joint practice. We'll hear from you as we close out the show. 702-365-9200. We'll do that next here on RaiderNation Radio 920.
I don't think anybody won't benefit from Tyler. I mean, I think he's done a really good job. He's athletic, and again, he leads. He does all the drills, but I think everybody on there has worked their tail off, right? I really do. I think they came in with a great attitude. We're going to do the best we can. We're going to improve and get better every day. And you could see them strive for it, right?
Now back to Unnecessary Roughness with your boy Q. Presented by Meineke, doing car care right.
Raiders offensive line coach Rick Dennison right there talking about Tyler Linderbaum and who he makes better. And as you heard Coach say, everybody. He makes everybody around him that much better. He's the center of that Raiders offensive line. He's the center of that Raiders offensive line that's going to be very well tested coming up tomorrow here in H-Town. Joint practice with the Houston Texans. It is Unnecessary Roughness here on RaiderNation Radio 920. And the good thing for us is there's a game coming up on Thursday, meaning that we'll have an opportunity to get inside the Raiders locker room, talk to some more players, obviously talk to some more coaches. We'll talk to players as well tomorrow and coaches at joint practice, but we'll have plenty more sound continuing coverage from the Raiders locker room. But after last week's game against the Cardinals at Allegiant Stadium, Brandy Flores and multiple different reporters had an opportunity to catch up with Tyler Linderbaum.
Like you guys had like a near flawless start to the game.
Yeah, I think the first two plays could have went a little better than we wanted to, but Jack and Kirk made a good connection to kind of get the drive going with the first down. Overall, I think that's start of the opening drive. The end goal is to get a touchdown, and that's what we did. So a lot to clean up on the tape, but overall, just love how the guys competed and look to make improvements for next week.
Talking about there's a lot of conversation on the sidelines throughout the game, not just from the coaches but from the players. How nice is that to see that early on, even with as much young guys and newness as there is?
Yeah, it's a team game, so some guys have gotten more reps than others in this league, so the more you can help out teammates on the things you're seeing, the better we can play as a whole team.
As you guys are trying to get more comfortable on the line, how important was it for your guys' confidence and communication with that first drive, especially considering it ended in a touchdown?
Yeah, I think it's a lot unknown, in practice how you're going to come out and compete as a team, but first good drive, but there's a lot of more football to be played, but it's a good starting point, and then just as a unit, continue to get better and build that cohesiveness.
Ryan McFadden, Vince Sapienza, and Brandy Flores, they're all speaking with the Raiders' big free agent acquisition over the offseason, Tyler Linderbaum. And as I mentioned, he will be tested along with the rest of the Raiders' offensive line coming up tomorrow. Let's go ahead and go out to the phone lines real quick, 702-365-9200. Let's talk to our guy, Just Win Will. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
What's going on, Q? What up, Ari? Happy belated birthday again. I'll be real quick because I know you guys are done. So I just wanted to come to the front of the congregation and apologize to Robbie Leonard. I'll say it. I was one of the ones that was ready to toss him out with the bathwater after that. But when I rewatched the game, I saw that our guys were in place. They just weren't making the play. So maybe the scheme's good. It's just the guys aren't making the play. So they get a pass on that. Unnecessary roughness is the special teams of RaiderNation Radio. How come you guys aren't talking about special teams? Who's going to be our kick returner? Who's going to be our punt returner? That Tompkins guy looked pretty good. So, let's see what's going on with that. But, I'll have a good night, brother, and appreciate y'all. Thank you as always.
I appreciate you, Just Win Will. Really good call. Well, yeah, we spent some time talking special teams when it came to the kick game, right? And we've spent a lot of time talking about the kick returners and the threat in the punt return and kick return game. I'd like to see it. It hasn't come to fruition yet. Maybe it's something we'll see tomorrow. Maybe we'll see a little bit more on Thursday. But somebody has to, like you said, come to the front of the congregation and announce themselves as who's going to be that guy and that threat in the kick return and punt return game, something that the Raiders haven't had in a very long time. But they also need to know who their starting kicker is going to be. We'll be back tomorrow, same time on RaiderNation Radio 920. Have a great night.